And we're live, Pep Talk boys. Tonight it's me, JLB. I'm going to be talking through some of the weekend's boxing, go through some of the action with all of you guys. And also, I'm going to get Kenny on the show and a few of the guests and just chat boxing really. So it's great to see everybody. If you can please subscribe to the channel, Pep Talk boys. Hit that notification bell as well. And look, thank you for all the support that you've given us recently. Absolutely fantastic. Joe done a great watch along last night, so hopefully everyone enjoyed that. I had some technical issues, but all back and running now. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will be going all right. Yeah, let's get cracking into it. So tonight, we're going to go over some of the weekend's action. Wow, what a show on DAZN it was last night! Absolutely incredible. Obviously, when Kenny comes on, we'll talk about more in depth with some of the fights. But as we get into it, we had Eddie Hearn doing something that he doesn't usually do. I think it was double your purse if there was a knockout for the opening fight on the main card, which obviously we didn't get a knockout, but we had quite a good fight. We also had a couple of other little what should we call it? Okay fights. You had the Chris Billum-Smith fight, which was okay, a bit lackluster. Like I said, we'll get into more detail about that later. Obviously, James Flint versus Dom Hunt. We'll quickly brief over that. That was a good little dust up as well. Not really much in that fight. It was a good fight, but nothing interesting. The card itself, a lot of people said that they weren't really happy with the card itself, but it was good for a Saturday night fight card. Let's be real. And sometimes the ones that don't look great on paper seem to turn out have some explosive fights. And as we saw last night, we had the last two fights, the co-main and the main, absolutely fantastic. Obviously, you had Terry Harper versus Baumgardner. I don't really know how to pronounce her name. I don't want to be disrespectful, but Bugama. What a fight! What a fight! We'll get into that with Kenny when Kenny jumps on board. And also the kid Galahad, Kiko Martinez. So look, people, get in the comments. Let us know here at Pep Talk what you thought of last night's action. We've obviously got Benjamin in saying, Pep Talk boys, we appreciate that. Benjamin, how you doing? Hope everything's all right. Obviously, Benji, long-term friend of the channel. Appreciate all his support. So hopefully he's doing really well. Hope you're having a great Sunday evening. Obviously, Haydar's in the house. Good evening, gents. Thank you very much, Haydar. And Arena Young, how's everyone tonight? Get in the comments. Let us know what you thought of the weekend's action. Look, there was some crazy action for the last two fights. Let me know what you thought about that. Were you shocked by the results? Were you shocked about what happened? Obviously, in the main event and co-main event, there were some really big shots. In the earlier fights, not really anything happening for it to really kick off until it did. But as we said, the last two fights were absolutely fantastic. Also tonight, I'm going to be going over a few of the fights that have been announced. Obviously, Benn versus Algieri, Liam Williams versus Chris Eubank Jr. Is the fight done between Kell Brook and Amir Khan? Who knows? We will find out with that as well. We will also talk about next weekend. I'll just get Kenny's thoughts on what he thinks about the Sean Porter versus Terence Crawford fight. So people, let me know what's going on. Prince Teddy's in the house. Evening, Prince Teddy. How you doing? Did you see the fights last night? I didn't get to see the action until this morning. Had some issues with my DAZN on my tablet and also with my laptop. So I didn't actually see the fights till this morning. I didn't know the results either. So that was great. I don't really like watching the fights when I know the results. So that was great. Also on the card, you had Stevie Levy, Dave Allen's charge, who he manages in the female division. She got a victory as well on the DAZN card as well. So shout out to her. Great for her after having her fight cancelled last week on Fight Zone. So really happy for her that she got a victory, and hopefully she can get some big fights going into the future. And Hayder says, not really. I thought Kiko would bring it. Yeah, no, we'll get into that when Ken gets on. I'll have a quick look now, see if Ken is about any time soon, because obviously I'd like to get straight into it. get our teeth stuck into it this Sunday evening. Hopefully everyone's ready for work tomorrow for the new week. But hopefully we can bring you all down to a nice chilled evening, settle down for the weekend, for the new week, shall I say, and then we'll get cracking. But no sign on when Ken's going to start. We'll get into it in a minute. We'll talk about it. Yeah, nothing on there from Ken. So yeah, look, we'll get straight into it. Let's rock and roll. Prince Teddy, let us know in the comments. Look, we'll go freestyle. We'll go freestyle till we see Ken. We've got enough going on in the comments here. So Prince Teddy says Shabazz Masood was great yesterday. 2 on the MTK card. Look, let me know some results as well that happened yesterday. I literally, like I said, I didn't see any action apart from the DAZN action, and that was this morning. So yeah, let me know. I know Jamie Mongiel beat was it Rosado as well on the DAZN show in America. I only know the result of that. I haven't seen that. I need to catch up with some action. Obviously, I was just going to briefly go over the DAZN card and then go on to some of the big fights that are going to be happening in the next couple of weeks and some big shows that's been announced. But I would appreciate if some of you can let me know some other action that did happen over the weekend, and that would be absolutely fantastic. But also hit that subscribe button. Pep Talk boys, we're doing really well at the moment, so we appreciate all your support. Hopefully that continues and we can get to that big 1,000 mark that we want to hit very soon. And also follow out all the lads out on their socials. You can see it going along the bottom right now. Joe's been doing some great interviews, top stuff, so please check that out. Over 150k for one of our videos, which was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, please everyone keep supporting the channel, but most important, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thoughts on the Eubank Williams? Which one you watching, Benn Algieri or Eubank Williams? I'll probably be watching both. If I'm being completely honest, I'll just watch them both at the same time. If there's 2 shows running simultaneously, I'll watch them both, especially if they're 2 good shows. I want to see, obviously it depends on the undercard. You got on the Eubanks Williams, you got Clarissa Shields, which would be fantastic for UK fans to see one of the best female fighters, if not the best female fighter in women's boxing, in some people's opinion, on UK British shores. So yeah, no, that would be fantastic to see her on there. So I'd like to see her fight. Obviously, I want to see the Eubanks versus Williams fight. That's going to be absolutely fantastic. Benn Algieri, look, I'll crack into that in a little while. I'm not too impressed with Algieri as an opponent. He was fighting Tommy Coyle a few years ago. No disrespect to Tommy Coyle, but Tommy Coyle's been retired for a little while. Thought he was a great domestic fighter. Never really got past European or up to world level. So if he was fighting Chris Algieri a few years ago, where's Chris Algieri gone since then? Not really pulled up trees. I would have liked another opponent, but for business sense, it makes complete sense for DAZN, for Conor Benn at this moment in time, and for Matchroom. So from a business sense, I can see why it's been made. I personally would have liked a different opponent, but what opponents is there out there? Let me know in the comments. Who would you have liked to see Conor Benn fight? Are you happy that Conor Benn is fighting Chris Algieri? What's your predictions for that? So yeah, throw some in there in the comments, people, because I would like to get stuck into that a bit later as well. Prince Teddy also is saying, who you got winning in Khan and Brook? Well, Prince Teddy, I'm happy to say that King Kenny is with me right now. So we get Kenny on. We'll go through some of the fights from last night, and then we'll get into some of the fights that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. And Ra's there. Ra, evening. Appreciate your support. Hopefully Ra will be on later on as well on the show, coming in with some of his opinions and letting us know what his thoughts are on the boxing and the future fights coming up. And also Eubanks Williams is going to kill Benn Algieri for viewing figures. Wouldn't surprise me if it doubles. Okay, that's fantastic. We'll get into that in a moment. I'm going to bring Kenny Ken into the stream, and here is the main man himself. Kenny Ken, how you doing, sir?
You know what? I want to apologise for a bit late. My daughter saved me life because she's managed to get me some AirPods. Because I can't find mine. I don't know what's happened. We've got a little dog, I don't know whether the dog's helped himself or not, or it's just me, my carelessness. It varies sometimes. You know what I mean? I was on a podcast before. I'm still miffed. I can't find them nowhere. But so my daughter's managed to save me at the 11th hour. But
No apologies needed, Ken. No apologies needed. Just happy to see you and glad that you're all right. And did you catch any of the action last night? Then let's go through it. Then obviously we had a couple of early fights. Obviously you had Dixon and his opponent. But look, I want to go into the three last fights because obviously we had Bilham Smith fighting, defending his European title. I thought it was a bit of a lukewarm performance. As I said, I didn't see the fights till this morning. I had issues with my DAZN and with my laptop and everything, so I didn't know the results. But I watched the fights this morning. I wasn't too impressed with Bilham Smith. What was your thoughts, Ken?
You know what's happened, right? I think because they look at level opponent, and the first thing they want to do is just get him out of there, putting a performance in. And I think you've got an opponent who just won't give in. Gone are the days where you have fighters who just come over here to make our fighters look good. Majority of these fighters do nowadays, with the exception of fighters like Molina and a few others, they've come to put a show on because you've got to think of the bigger picture now. What with they've got live crowds, they've got a gate, and obviously, they've got a promoter like Eddie Hearn. After what's happened with Molina, away fighters are not going to come here and just and let the crowd down. And that's what happened yesterday with Chris Bilham Smith. You say he made heavy weather of it, but you've got to beat, the guy in front of you. And it wasn't an easy fight. It wasn't a great performance. He wasn't picking his shots off as much as I can. So those combinations, he was looking for the big shot, but it is understandable.
Yeah, no, definitely. And look. These opponents, obviously, we're going to the Terry Harper in a moment, but we saw with Shannon Courtney's opponent a few weeks ago come over and take her world titles off her. And as you're saying, these fighters ain't coming over here. We've seen it with the Mexicans earlier in the year when Josh Warrington, or was it last year when Josh Warrington lost to Lara? We had Tennyson getting beat by the Mexican Saffron. I know, obviously, he's fought Hughes since then, but like Kenny's saying, there's a bit of a trend going on at the moment. Gone the days where people are just going to take a payday and they got no ambition to win. Obviously, we had Molina a couple of weeks ago, but he's someone that we know that it's been like that for a couple of years. And he's kind of took the tumbles and gone down a bit easy. But at the moment, these fighters coming over to British soils, obviously we're making a statement the last 10 years being probably the prime place in the world for boxing. These fighters are taking these opportunities, aren't they, Ken?
Well, of course, so. That's the thing. They got the gate. They got the in terms of like they're fighting for titles. And what's happening? I think the problem we have in this country, we rate, as we've seen with the fights that we're going to go on to afterwards, we probably rate our fighters way too highly, especially in the women's division, the women's boxing. We don't look beyond their nose. We put these guys on pedestals, and you think, look what's out there. There was a lot of overconfidence within Matchroom. Loads. It's like all you hear from Matchroom, and I'm going to emphasise that point as well. They don't talk about the direct opponent. They talk about future fights. Unifications or legacy fights. Fight the guy in front of you, or the woman in front of you. You know what I mean? No, I've got no way of emphasising that point. And I think the next two fights we can go to emphasises, what I consider to be overconfidence, lack of self-awareness, looking at fights that you're not doing, and arrogance.
Yeah, arrogance is a key word there, Ken. I absolutely totally agree with that. Before we go into the next fight, so obviously Patrick's come up here. Mr. Patrick Curtis says, is Matchroom the weakest they've been in years? The stable looks weak. And as we said many weeks ago, when Sky and Boxer come about, you were going to get these fighters that were small fish in a big pond, going to go to obviously Sky Boxer, and now they can be a big fish in a big pond because Sky's a great backer. Boxer's doing great stuff at the moment. And as you're seeing with these fighters over on Sky, like Chris Eubank, obviously Savannah Marshall, Huey Fury, all these sorts of people, they're going to be getting the fights. They're going to be getting the recognition. And obviously Matchroom, they're going to have to step up a little bit. But going on to what Ken said there about, I found it as well when I listened to the commentary this morning. They are always talking about future fights. They were always talking about the next fight, the fight after that fight. And I felt with Chris Billam-Smith, it looked like that in his performance a little bit. It felt like that it was a bit of a lukewarm performance. He thought, I'm going to get rid of this guy. And then I think they're talking about maybe a Tommy McCarthy rematch or whatever they're going to do with him next. But I felt like that was his kind of performance last night, that he couldn't. He tried taking him out in the first couple of rounds, and when he couldn't, he just kind of didn't really take the next gear. He didn't step it up a little bit. And with Billam-Smith, I do find that a little bit anyway in his performances. I think he starts well over the first 4 or 5 rounds. He looks powerful,
McCarthy,
and then he just
remember the fight with McCarthy.
He's
going to away.
Yeah, exactly. And a few of his fights, Billam-Smith, as soon as he gets to the 5th or 6th round, it gets into a bit of a dogfight. It gets a bit messy, and it just isn't the same. But look, we're going to the Terry Harper fight, and Ken, I'll let you take the platform here. What did you think? Just go with it. Freestyle for us, Ken.
First and foremost, Terry Harper. I think what's happened, right, is that if you want, you can talk about the injury she's had with her hand. But the proof of the pudding in terms of Terry Harper as well is that when you've got someone like Terry Harper, we always talk about her boxing skills and how she's hard to hit, she's elusive. But one of what I detected a weakness a year ago when she fought Natasha Jonas. Because even though Natasha Jonas was fighting a southpaw stance, she was getting caught with big shots. And the reason why Terry Harper gets caught with big shots, invariably, is this upright style. Oh, let me do me boxing. Geez, you know what I
mean? Ken's boxing the screen here, people.
Yeah, sorry, I boxed the screen. So I said, oh yeah, let's fight at range. Let's fight at range, and my box is going to be elusive. No, very little feints until it's too late. Let's just fight at range. Boom, boom, boom. And what they tend to do is that with fighters like Terry Harper, if you close the distance down and your hands go, she's very vulnerable. Natasha Jonas, probably didn't let her hands go enough, and that's probably why she did get a draw. If she let her hands go enough, she might have won it. She might have not Terry Harper out. And I was seeing, and I saw that weakness. And then when I saw her against Baumgarten, she didn't win a round. She was getting first Baumgartner cut off the ring. Her jab worked well. Not just jab to the head, she jabbed to the body, came out, threw a right hand. Second round, hit her around the temple. And I don't think Terry recovered after that. And I thought, you've got to raise a glass to, Mark Lyson. Because I'll tell you one thing, that was heavy. I'm not too funny. That was a heavy, heavy blow. And I've only seen that once where someone has been knocked out from a standing range. I think the first person I saw was poor old Davey Price about 3.5 years ago when he fought Povetkin. Apart from that, I haven't seen that. That's just yesterday, the second time I saw it, and I thought, she just got outclassed. But then again, it's the same old thing with Matchroom. Oh, once she gets past Baumgartner, she'll have a unification fight against Michaela Meyer. How about fighting Bert Gardner first before you fight Michaela Meyer? How about remembering you just come back from injury, you've got a chink in your armour where because you're upright, you're susceptible to Natasha Jonas. Obviously, it was a backhand, but for all fighters, it's a right hand. And especially when you get caught around the temples and the face because you're too upright. How about sorting that out? All I hear about is Steffi Blau is like he's a big cheerleader. Oh my Terry, and we're gonna do this. How about just concentrating on the situation at hand, making sure that she's fit, and concentrating on the opponent. Stop talking about unifications. That's all you heard from Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn he stopped selling fights that like that, and stop putting overconfidence and arrogance in your stable's fighters' heads. Because what's happening is a bit of humble pie. She got battered.
Yeah,
Let's face it, she didn't win a
she took
round.
a beating. Nah, she took a beating,
She
Ken,
got hiding.
and everything you said about her opponent, Baumgardner. She was fantastic from round one. I like their feints, I like their movement, I like their skill. Um, and look, I don't want to criticise Terry Harper too much, but I agree with everything you said, Ken. I thought that Natasha Jonas fight, I thought Jonas won that. I'll be completely honest. I thought a draw. She done well to get a draw and keep her titles that night. What you said was correct there. Her upright stance, she was getting hit with them counters from Jonas all the time. And like you say, she could have got stopped if Jonas just stepped on the pedal a little bit. I think when you're the champion, you've got to rip the challenger against the champion. You've got to rip the title away from the champion, and that's probably went against Jonas. And I'll get your point there. She probably should have stepped on her a little bit more to get the victory. But obviously, that should have been a lesson, Ken. As you said then, when she fought her then, should have been a lesson. Then she's been out for a year with 2 broken hands, I heard, or whatever. And Eddie said that Steffi Ball said after the fight, maybe we should have took an easier fight. And this goes back to the arrogance.
Says it all about that man. Says it all about Steffi Ball. Says it all about that man.
And it says it goes with the arrogance with the whole picture. I think with Matchroom at the moment, there's this air of arrogance where they're just throwing their fighters in with these fights, just throwing the rematch clauses in there. Like last night, Terry Harper's got a rematch. Kid Galahad's got a rematch. Like, you should have focused on the fights you said, like you said, Ken. They should have focused on the fights that they had last night. Terry Harper, she shouldn't have been thinking about Michaela Meyer. She should not have been thinking about that fight because she had a just go on the evidence, as we said. These fighters are coming over game. We saw Shannon Courtney's opponent come over, Jamie Mitchell. She was fantastic. Absolutely put a great performance in. These fighters now, they want this opportunity. They want it, but I just don't like the arrogance. Also, maybe Terry Harper should have took an easier fight. Being out for a year with 2 bad hand injuries, Eddie Hearn's got to stop pitting all these world champions on the same level as Anthony Joshua, Canelo and that. Yeah, certain fighters can't have warm-up fights, but they're the elite fighters. These are the elite fighters that if they lose a close world title fight or they lose a world title fight, they're straight back in it. But people like Terry Harper, she should have had a 10-round fight with someone else and then maybe gone into a big fight. But these women at the moment, the pool of quality of these female fighters at the moment is unbelievable. And you ain't got no easy fights. And as we're getting to the fight after, but Terry Harper, where does she go from here? Do you take the rematch? Because I'll tell you what, I wouldn't fancy my chances against that. That lady.
Unless she takes the rematch, she's gonna have to get back in the queue, get in the back of the queue. Simple. You know, it's the best. You've got to accelerate the situation. You know, take the rematch. You know, sort out parts of your style. Tell Steffi Ball to shut up and just train you. You know, tell Eddie Hearn to stop talking about reunifications and get back in the ring. But make sure you're fit. If your hand's not right, do not get in with this girl because the same thing will happen. She'll murder you. She'll batter you.
Yeah.
And
and she's got power.
Exactly. Got power. And that's the thing. You know, if you're holding back, fine. Holding back on power, then what's going to happen? You're going to struggle. And that's the thing. But the only way to get back into that situation where you are challenging for the best is that to get back to the best, you've got to beat the best. And the best out there are Michaela Meyer and Baumgardner. So you have to take a rematch. You know, I know Eddie Hearn and people, loves a rematch because he wants to get back his control. Fans probably say, "Oh, it's just rematches will happen. You'll get beaten up again." Doesn't always have to be that way. Some rematches go differently. Anthony Joshua's rematch against Ruiz went differently. You know, Deontay Wilder. You know, everyone thought that he was going to get battered by Tyson Fury. He basically got exhausted, but he gave him a good fight for the first 6 or 7 rounds before he got injured, before he ran out of gas. So, you have to, when you do have rematches, you have to look at what you did right in the first fight. Unfortunately for Terry Harper, there isn't much encouragement from yesterday. There wasn't anything for her to look at.
And it was a bad stoppage, Ken.
It was a bad stoppage, but it was a situation she was getting done for speed of hand or foot. She looked flat-footed, which she doesn't normally look like. Her punches like snap. She lacked speed in her combinations. It was like she was feeling an injury. So she's got to have, at the moment, Boatgartner's got to have a bad night or probably be overconfident.
Yeah,
With the
100%.
veracity of her celebrations, you would think that you would hope that she's not going to take Terry Harper lightly in the rematch. And that's
Oh,
probably what
definitely
Terry
not.
might get. She probably wouldn't, but at the moment, she's now thinking, well, I don't want a rematch of her. I want Michaela Meyer. So again, it's Terry Harper who's going to activate it, and because she holds the card because of the clause that was signed, but it's got to be a 360 in terms of like improvement for her, and she has to be
Oh,
fully fit and focused. She's not fully
yeah,
fit and focused. Forget it.
no, and also Eddie always alludes to with Terry Harper that she lacks a little bit of confidence in herself, which is obviously a big factor in boxing.
when
The
you got
knockout.
when you got
What's that, Ken?
Steffi Ball as a cheerleader, I'm surprised. I'm surprised the poor lassie don't get a word there. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's like a
no,
Steffi Ball show.
yeah, no, and
With
look, and Ken's got his opinion on Steffi. Obviously, if he wants to, I love the way that he's passionate about his fighters and the way he does big them up. But I'm more worried about the physical and mental um, issues going forward for Terry. She struggles with her hand injuries. It's happened a few times. She's had a broken hands. Also, that knockout, like Ken said, you don't normally see someone knocked out clean, stood up, and she was gone. When I first saw it this morning, my first reaction was, "What's the ref doing?" But then when I saw the second angle, when you saw her, I thought, "Oh, okay, that's a great stoppage." Because obviously, as Ken said, you don't normally see someone knocked out when they're stood up. So for me, as I was watching it, I was looking at it thinking, "Oh, it's a big shot," but she just turned her back, like maybe she broke her cheekbone or something, and the pain was too much. But as you saw, the power of the shot, she was out on her feet, and if you suffer with a lack of confidence coming off a big loss like that, you got two bad hands. I don't know where she'd go. Obviously, look, she was world champion. She was fighting at a high level. Look, Bal Gardner, she's a fantastic fighter. What I saw last night of her, I'm a big fan. Should I say this morning? What she performed last night, the jab worked well. Like Ken said, she was. I liked her style. When I saw her performing, I thought she had a bit about her. What Terry can do going forward was, like Ken said, people can get better in a rematch. It's going back to the drawing board, but it's whatever Steffi comes up with a good game plan or not. Personally, it would be the boxing move, but you can't always do that with these big power punches, can you, Ken?
well, trouble is boxing move things, right? It works well up to a point, but we're talking about 12-round fights. You have to engage. You have to engage with these fighters now, because especially in championship fights, especially when you've got someone who can throw the reins about and is heavy-handed,
Yeah,
because because you have to let them know that they can't bully you in the ring. Usyk, one of the things I was saying before the Joshua fight, he has to engage with Anthony Joshua. He can't just go there and fight like a lightweight and win those fights. You have to rip the title from Anthony Joshua, and he ripped the title from Anthony Joshua. And I'm just saying, these boxers and movers, learn something new, bring something different to the table.
exactly that. You got to come up with some fresh ideas. I'm going to go into some comments, Ken, before we go on to the main event last night. Mr. Patrick Curtis says, Josh Kelly smashed, Callum Smith smashed, AJ smashed, Harper smashed, Ben soon to be smashed, Galahad smashed, Courtney smashed. There's a trend here. So yeah, there is a trend coming on here. Like as we already alluded to, these
Arrogance.
British, arrogance for these British fighters, this promotion, and these international fighters, they're looking at our British fighters on a pedestal. They're saying that these are the creme de la creme. These are meant to be the best fighters in the world. I want to make a statement in the UK. I want to make a statement with a Matchroom, DAZN, these promoters. They're taking their opportunities, and what I'm seeing is, like last night with Terry Harper in her performance, it felt like the challenger was more hungrier. Did you get that, Ken?
Yeah.
I felt like they were more hungrier. They wanted it more. And you saw that from the first bell. And as we're getting to Kiko Martinez, we'll jump straight into that one in a moment. But let me get a few more comments off to Ken quickly, just to get the fans involved. Haydar says, Matchroom acting like big men. You see the likes of Frank and Boxer, and all promoters are not arrogant like Hearn. The rematch clauses are stopping boxing, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree with that. You're losing a year to 2 years in a lot of fights with these rematches. I think in big fights, in certain fights, you should have it. But Eddie Hearn's doing it with near enough every one of his main events that he's having. So I know that a lot of them are title fights, but where I think you shouldn't get an automatic rematch if you're getting knocked out. That's my opinion. In the UFC, they don't do that. If it's a close points decision and you lose your title, you might get a rematch. But if you're getting knocked out cold, you shouldn't really. It's a conclusive victory, in my opinion. And Prince Teddy says the ref had to stop it. I presume going to the Terry Harper fight. Yeah, it was a great stoppage by the ref. I'm not going to argue with that. Safety comes first. Health is wealth. We all know that. So it was a good stoppage. And Haydar also says she's only 25, Terry Harper. And yeah, Terry Harper, you'll come back again. No worries about that. Obviously, there's a lot to learn. Get back to the training board. And obviously, we hope she makes a speedy recovery. But look, we're going to go straight into that main event now. And another sign of arrogance, in my opinion, Ken, from Eddie Hearn. He admitted afterwards, look, I thought Kiko Martinez would be an interesting fight, a fun fight. But I thought that, obviously, Kid Galahad would win. Look, these former world champions are not here to take part. Do you know what I mean, Ken? They're here to give a good account of themselves. Do you know what I mean? And Kiko Martinez, a former world champion in his own right, I thought he may have nicked it against Zelfa Barrett. Look, there was a lot of controversy in that fight. It wasn't like everyone said Zelfa Barrett won. Now I think because it was that close and Eddie felt bad for Kiko, that's why he got this big fight here. So let's get into it. How did you see the fight going, Ken, from the beginning? Let's start from the first round.
Let's just. I'm going to make 2 points before we start on the fight. First point, you mentioned UFC. That Eddie Hearn is obsessed with Dana White. He's obsessed. His whole model on in terms of work with DAZN is because he saw what was working with Dana White in terms of getting these stories out. Eventually trying to get a training center, but most importantly, the UFC model. Oh, put them with anyone. Let's give the fighters what we want. They're probably not ready enough, but let's put them in anyway because we want to make. We're in competition with Sky now, so we're going to have all these fights, blah blah. And my men are going to win, but just in case things go wrong, let me insert some. Rematch clauses. Second most important fight, no sympathy for Kid Galahad. If you can't make weight, then you're a disgrace. He couldn't make weight. And so he was off to a non-starter, just like Shannon Courtney was off to a non-starter a few weeks ago, on October the 9th. If you don't make weight and you're a professional fighter, then there's something wrong with you. Either you shouldn't be fighting at that weight and you should move up the weight scales, or you're not doing your preparation right. You can't keep on being dead on the scales. You can't be dead on the scales. Doesn't matter. And especially when you're fighting someone like Kiko Martinez, who makes weight, comfortably. Most importantly as well, you can't take chances with this guy. Doesn't matter whether he's lost about 10 or more fights. He's fought Randall Monroe twice, albeit losing. Fought Scott Quigg, beat Booth. Fought, I said Warrington, Zelfa Barrett. So this guy's got experience. This is a live opponent. Yes,
Carl Frampton has been in there with Frampton.
Frampton as well. Carl Frampton as well. So this is a live opponent, even though age is against him. Don't take the mickey out of him. And another thing as well, right, is that I don't know about you. But these wankerbutt fighters, these brain and ankle fighters, they're beginning to get the comeuppance a bit. They just think that they could just go in there, willy-nilly, switch it, try and take the piss out of opponent, leave their fight with their upright styles, and just jump down, step on someone's foot, and go boom, 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 and that's it. That style's out of fashion now. The reason, if you don't believe me, listen to what was said in the commentary, not commentary, in the comments, like I said in the summary by Tony Bellew and Lee Wood, they were talking about the winker back style, switch hitting, jumping around, fighting with your face and fighting upright. What do you expect? What do you expect? Yes, you won the first. Yes, mate, you won the first few rounds comfortably, but you're dead in the scales. As soon as the guy caught you with the right hand at the end of the fifth, it was only a matter of time. If he had enough time in that round, he would have knocked you out. But to come out in the next round, it was only going to happen one way. It was only ever going to happen. He's only got himself to blame. Low left hands. You low left hands. Are you having a laugh? A low left hand, switch hitting, thinking that's going to work, and then thinking, oh, I'm going to use my speedy footwork and my speedy hands, and that's going to get me through. No, that's out of fashion, mate. All these fighters who go a bit like that. No, engage, fight. Keep your guards up. Keep your head down. Don't fight too upright because you'll get tagged now. Fight, modern day fighters have worked you guys out. Or you skillful fighters. It's not working no more. It's not working no more. Stop that style.
I don't think it's not working where it won't work again. I think you just need to update it and just add a little bit more to it.
Against a wily figure like Martinez, is being around the block. You don't make weight. You fight with low hands. Everyone knows that these fighters who fought in the championship rounds won't panic if they're a few rounds behind, because what they're doing is that they think, right, fair enough, he's winning a few rounds, I'm going to try and work him out. And then once I work him out in terms of get my distances right and get in range and counter that style, know it's coming, these fighters got nowhere to go. And that's what Kid Martinez like. He worked out Kid Galahad. But then again, Kid Galahad killed himself by being dead in the scales.
Yeah, and Haydar says here that style worked for the likes of Naz, Nelson, Rhodes, all champions. Yeah, but look, when were they fighting though, Haydar? That's what Ken's trying to allude to. Ken's trying to say years ago it worked. Now people have got the styles to beat that style, so maybe it's not working. Change it up a bit. Personally, I'm not going down that avenue, Ken. I see your point, and I wouldn't disagree with it. I think it's probably a tad arrogance. He looked at Kiko Martinez and thought, look, this guy's, as you say, he's got a few losses. I'm the best in the world, which, you should have that air of arrogance. Kid Galahad should have had that. But for me, you got to make weight. If you sign a contract to fight at that weight, you got to make it. That's rule number one for me. That's what you're getting paid for. So does that show lack of ambition in this fight? In the sense of
lack of preparation.
Lack of preparation. Look, we know that Kid Galahad's one of the best work ethics. He lives in the gym, trains there. But I'm not too sure, Ken. I like people to get in the comments. Let me know what you thought, what you think it is with Kid Galahad. But Ken, let's talk about that first knockdown. What a punch that was! That was like being kicked by a horse.
Yeah,
and as you said, Kid Galahad was boxing well. But Ken, I just want to talk about that shot. What a good punch was that! What a shot was that!
Well, that's the thing. Once again, it's a right hand. It's caught you straight in the face. Didn't catch you around the temple. Didn't catch you on the door. It caught you straight through. And what happened? And it's because low left hand. Low left hand, upright. So leave your chin out. Boom. Timing. It was timing.
I just want to give all credit to Kiko Martinez for that shot because that was a face breaker. That shot, Kid Galahad had never been hit like that. You knew he hadn't. He hadn't, do you know what I mean? It's the first time he's ever obviously been stopped. But that shot, I don't think it should have carried on personally. I watched the stoppage back twice this morning. And when Kid Galahad got up, he got given the benefit of the doubt because he's champion, which, okay, fair enough. You got to give these guys that if they are the champion. But when the ref said, are you ready? He didn't have his hands up straight away. He kind of didn't know where he was, and the ref should have saved him because when he went back to that corner, Eddie said, I thought that he got his senses. He didn't get his senses because as soon as he stepped out, Kiko Martinez just threw the same right hand that he nailed him with the round before with no defence. And like you said, Ken, if he had his senses, you would have been weary for that. You would have been you would have been looking for that straight away.
Well,
he just planted him with it straight away, didn't he? Straight away, boom, and
it says a lot. It says a lot that even after a minute, in terms of like in between rounds, where you have your rest, you have your water, you have your instructions, he still felt the effects of that punch. It says it all that he should. It says it all that Kiko Martinez ran out of time to finish the job off. Said it all, and being caught flush when you went. But again, you're the champion because other fighters have not had heavy falls, but with with a 12-round fights, they do recover from those sort of punches and then work way out. But when it's a bad knockdown like that, where you still haven't got your senses, you still got your hands low, and you're thinking, I'm just fighting here in instinct, but my body's betraying me. You're right. It was only one of his rapid. But again, you talk about arrogance. Again, what fight was he talking about? Another unification fight. Another fight. Instead of looking at the
Lee Wood fight, I think Lee would have had a good chance. As you said, he mentioned the style and he's got good power punches.
Why was Lee Wood in the punchery booth with Laura Woods and Charlie Benny? Because what was going to happen is that when, and this is in Eddie's mind, Kiko Martinez got felled by Kid Galahad, he was going to be brought into the ring and they're going to have a little face-off and they're going to go, yeah, we're going to fight like that. That was the plan. Once again, stop, and I implore all fighters, stop looking at fights in the future and concentrate on the fight you had before. All of these fighters have done that. You talk about, one of the guys in the comments started listing the amount of losses that's happened to matching fighters. 90% of them were looking at other fights forward. You only have to look at Shannon Courtney. She's fighting on Mitchell. Oh, Rachel Ball. Yeah, she don't want to fight me, blah, blah. And then you've got Ebony Bridges, blah, blah. Like I said, oh, yeah, that's a nice bit of money fight and all that. What about Mitchell? What if she battered you, Shannon? Do not be deluded to think for 1 minute that you won any of those rounds. You might have won.
Oh, she lost that fight for sure, Ken. Even at the time when she looked surprised when she didn't get the decision, I thought, okay, you need to really address what's going on at the moment because obviously it's not going into your brain as you thought, or you're not assessing your performance. Obviously, I think it's a bit of denial, but I just want to know how Kid Galahad's going to react after that knockout, Ken, because I was so impressed.
Well, he's not going to fight in a rematch. He can't because he won't make this. He ain't going to make the weight. Get out. Go. He ain't going to make weight. So what's the point of fighting him? You're dead at the scales. Unless Kiko Martinez goes up the weights. There's no point in having that fight.
Or get away from. I don't know whether it's lack of preparation. I know he's with the IBF. You got to do that weigh-in clause, £10 or something. Maybe that plays on his mind. Maybe he needs to go to the WBC or something, or go up in weight, as you said, Ken. But
it's the only chance he's got. It's the only chance he's got.
I just don't want to take anything away from Kiko Martinez because
you don't have to take anything from Kiko Martinez.
I was so in awe with them shots because I just thought it was beautiful. I'm a big Kid Galahad fan. Ask Joe. I always thought he beat Josh Warrington, and look, I'm still a big Kid Galahad fan.
I didn't.
And
I thought Josh Warrington.
I know you didn't.
I didn't. I thought Josh Warrington won that on work rate.
Yeah, maybe so, but I just thought Kid Galahad maybe edged that, but look, Warrington got the nod for that fight. But that knockout was just, it was just. I just loved it. What I loved about it was the whole storyline. As you said, Ken, Kiko Martinez was being overlooked by everyone. Eddie, Kid Galahad, The Zone, Matchroom, and this 35-year-old veteran just pulls out one of the biggest right hands you're going to see, and it was such a beautiful shot. I know look, we could argue about the defense all night. The defense of Kid Galahad was terrible, but the guy's got to deliver that right hand, and he just got that right hand from the gods and absolutely nailed him. And I just loved the shot. And what I loved even more, that he hit him with the exact same shot in the next round that took him out. I was just like, it was just bizarre that he just hit him with the exact same shot and he just went down the same, but obviously he stayed down this time.
It's the same sort of thing. The same shot, same spot where you're in pain, a spot where you haven't recovered. Only one outcome. And I think, but if, as you said before, it's not me saying he was dead out of skulls. It's not, if he can't make weight, then obviously there's a massive concern. But it's obviously people in the boxing circles, people like Lee Wood was talking about him being dead out of skulls. Tony Bellew emphasised that. He was screaming. He was basically shouting it. He was basically making those points in abbreviated tones about Barry Howard is dead at the scales and blah, and that. And he's been dead at the scales for a long, long time. Sorry, you fight again, you're going to lose again at that weight. It's fight because you're not going to make weight. You're not going to make weight.
In the comments, Ken, Ra says, doesn't look good for Galahad, as there's even worse waiting for him at super featherweight. So Ra's saying, even if he moves up, it's going to get even worse for him because there's even more killers at, I think it'll be 130 pounds then. I think it's at 126 at the moment. There's going to be even more people waiting for him at super featherweight. So do you agree with Ra there? Do you believe that even if he moves up, it's not going to probably get much better for him because there's high level of opponents there?
Oh, I totally agree with Ra there because it's not so much the fact that he's not making weight; it's the style as well. Pete, that style. The Ingles. Like I said, getting their fighters so out of fashion. Fighters see that all that long. They're prepared. They're prepared to get their heads boxed off for 3 or 4 rounds, and then what they'll do is they say, right, we're going to take over now. They'll find their range, and then they'll take these guys out.
Yeah, 100%. And Slick Boxing 365 says, congrats to Martinez. Usyk is taking AJ out the same way, so be ready. He has his chance to work with Bashir, but won't take it. The man who knows Usyk better than anyone took him to the world title. So Slick Boxing 365 obviously saying that he thinks the same's going to happen. James Ali, Bashir, remember the name.
He's a favourite, isn't he? He's a favourite because the man way he won. But as I said before, when we look at Terry Harper, in terms of I didn't see much to encourage in terms of rematch because she was so completely outclassed. She was outstrength. She was bullied. And
it was a conclusive victory. Like I said earlier, if it's conclusive, you shouldn't have an instant rematch. If you get knocked out, you shouldn't get the rematch. I don't believe that in any way. And look,
but it's money though. We're in a business. Boxing's a business.
Yeah.
And it is a business where basically it is dictated by the casual fans. Casual fans do have a favourite. Invariably, the hometown favourite is one of the reasons why. One of the reasons why casual fans do come at the sport. So the casual fan is going to either do 2 things: one, say he wasn't that much good anyway, or I want a rematch. I want my boy to win. And that's what dictates it. Eddie Hearn knows that Anthony Joshua is a payday. He's a payday for in this country and even in world boxing, the payday. So, of course, he's going to, any fighter who wants to fight Anthony Joshua has to sign a rematch clause, regardless how bad they beat him. But I think in terms of music, in terms of the guys and the points that's made just now, there are instances and parts of that fight where AJ should be encouraged. AJ should fight 12 rounds. He should do probably about 50% of what he did last month in North London. But the other 50% he's got to cut out. So what he needs to do, most importantly, is everyone's talking about, him, being a bigger guy, or maybe it was the weight and everything. What AJ needs to do is, try and cut the ring off. Use, like I said, use his combinations, outman him because you're the bigger guy, and then once you get him hurt, let your hand goes. Get in a position where you can get your uppercut going. Your uppercut, AJ's uppercut is one of the most devastating punches in boxing.
Yeah,
He
totally.
when it, once he catches the uppercut, that leads to into a situation where he can knock you out and he can stop you. But if he's just looking for a single right hand, which he's entitled to do, which he was doing, with Usyk, or looking for a left hand, he's got to get in a situation where if he's moving back and you've buzzed him, you've got to be able to have the confidence to go in and get your combos in going. AJ didn't do that, so there is scope to fault because Usyk wasn't punch perfect. He was in terms of he got his feints right. He used his backhand to an effect, and he did engage with Joshua. But there were times when Joshua did get some success, but it wasn't the success to enable him to get a foot in the fight. And as Joshua mentioned as well, Usyk caught him with a punch in the eye, and then after that the fight went away from Joshua. I think Anthony Joshua, if he looks at the fight that me, myself, and my wife saw, we were concerned for about round 3. We thought the fight went away from Anthony Joshua long before round 9. But these
Yeah,
are areas where AJ needs to look at. But what he needs to do is get into a situation where he's the fighter and Rob McCracken's the trainer, whoever he is. No good trying to go all over the country and see what everyone does and get bits and pieces. You don't train yourself.
no, you don't. And Ken, look, we've got months to get into that. So people, look, we know that everyone likes to compare AJ and that to other fighters, and look, we've got loads of shows. I'm sure me, Ken, and all the gang are gonna be debating that over the next couple of months. But what I want to get into for the fans, and it's perfect to get into this next segment, Ken. I don't know if you're going to be going to these shows, but look, we've got some big shows coming up. We've had some fights announced, and what I'm going to do, Ken, I'm going to give you some names of some fights that have been announced, and we get your opinions on how you're going to see these fights going. If you think it's good for boxing, is it good for business? And we'll get your opinions. And look, we'll start off with, I'll let you know my opinion on this. I had a little speak about it earlier, but look, Conor Benn versus Chris Algieri. For me personally, I'm not buzzing for the fight. I'll be completely honest. Chris Algieri, I said earlier, was fighting Tommy Coyle a couple of years ago, and much love to Tommy Coyle. I really, really love him and respect him as a person and a boxer. But he was British level, didn't quite even make it European to world level. And if Chris Algieri's fighting him a few years ago, I don't know where he is right now in his career. So for me, I wanted a bit of a bigger name. But on a business sense, I can see it makes sense. Chris Algieri's big with the American supporters. He works for DAZN America. It's a name on the list. Do you know what I mean? It's going to look good on the name on the CV. So on a business sense, and obviously I think Conor Benn can easily beat him. So I think for them 3 reasons, I can see why Matchroom had done it. But I'm not buzzing for it. I'll be completely honest. Not like some of his other fights. I know the Vargas one I was buzzing for because it's that unknown. Same with the Granados fight. It wasn't a great fight, but it's that unknown. I kind of know Algieri. I can kind of see how the fight's going to go. But yeah, what's your opinions on it, Ken?
Conor Benn isn't ready for those big names at welterweight, and I agree with this time. I do agree with Eddie Hearn that he needs to find his feet. There's loads of time. He's got a lot of time. Chris Algieri, yeah, he was fighting Tommy Coyle. And you are right. It was it wasn't at the sort of level that that we'd like. Tommy Cole himself was, especially when he lost to Luke Campbell. He was saying himself that he's not really world level. He's really domestic level, not European level. But one of the things is that that's exactly where Conor Benn is at the moment. Conor Benn isn't world level. He's a little bit above domestic level, and he's probably high European level. So fighting someone like Chris Algieri makes a lot of sense for me in terms of waking way up. You don't want that confidence kind of damager that you do get with in terms of like boxing, where fighters like I said, get pushed in, they lose a fight, and then they got to regroup. You know what I mean? And I think this is a guy that this is a fighter that you have to handle with care. You know what I mean? Because this guy can go the whole way, but his career has to be managed carefully. You know, get him up a few levels, get him up a few levels. Chris Allegri, you know, if we how do I say it, right? Underestimate Chris Allegri, then we're going to have the same situation as we had last night in Sheffield.
I'm not underestimating him.
Not saying.
No,
Not saying.
I just,
No, it's not you underestimating him, but I think this is a fight where, you know, where Conor Benn has to. It's not a case of him looking good, and he shouldn't put himself out of pressure. He's just kind of him getting this, notching this up, getting some experience, getting a wily fighter. You know, if the knockout's there, then knock him out. But if there's a situation where you've got to work him out, then work him out. I think this is a good fight for Conor Benn. I'm really pleased that he's fighting at that level.
No, I'm so happy for him too, Ken. And look, I've got so much love and respect for Conor Benn. I'm enjoying the journey. I'm enjoying what's happening. I can just see him taking Chris Algieri out in 1 or 2 rounds, and I know that's great.
If it's there, that's fine.
Yeah, no, that is great. But I just wanted. Look, Chris Algieri. Look, he's tough. Look, he's a very tough man. Look, and if he can take him out early, fantastic. And I just want it. Look, I can see for Matchroom and for Conor Benn, this is perfect. I'm not saying it. I'm saying it as a greedy fan, and for me, it's not what. It's not that's not how it works in boxing. What works is what works for Conor, for Matchroom, for DAZN, and I can see that this fight's perfect for that. I just wanted an Adrian Broner, someone like that, because I don't think Adrian. Look, I know he's a couple of weight world champion, but he's not that now, and I just thought that would have been a better name than Chris Algieri. But look, I'm not opposed to the fight. I'm not saying it's the worst fight.
That's the next level fight. That's the next level fight. Because what's happening is that if he fights Adrian Broner now, Adrian Broner will think, you know what, I can make me money here. Got a big crowd. It's a good platform. This can get me in a big time. So right now, in terms of like Conor Benn's development, it's a fight where I think he could come unstuck if he fights Adrian Broner now.
Yeah, no, that's true. Sorry, Ken, carry on.
I still think that Adrian Broner, for some reasons, I'm not going to write him off too much. I still think there's a top class fighter there, but he's got to have a situation where concentration on what you've got to do, change his style a bit as well, because you know this like fighting with your face and trying to bamboozle opponents, so out of fashion, mate.
Yeah, but Ken, what is there a danger though here with how they're managing Conor in the sense of they're kind of, let's put it this way. I don't know if you've seen the interviews, but obviously David Avanesian has been calling for that fight, and Eddie's kind of been saying it's like a high risk, low reward, that type of fight.
You're damn right. That's the truth. Yeah, that's the truest thing. That's the truest thing he's ever said.
But what I'm trying to say, Ken, is, and I totally agree. I think David Avanesian is an absolute beast, by the way. So, I think he is a tough fight. But where's Chris Algieri? What level's that? Because David Avanesian, no matter how good he is the European champion, Ken. So is Chris Algieri above that? Is Conor Benn skipping European level? Because that could be dangerous. Because if they pick Conor Benn in with Chris Algieri, yeah, are they going to then give him another couple more fights, or are they going to say, look, now you're going to have to step up? Because my worry is I don't know. Do you just go in with the big dogs? Do you go in with the big dogs, and do you just? I don't know. I don't know where they're going with him, because they're just skipping European level. Like they're just going above it, isn't it?
Yeah, but with a fighter like David Avanesian, there's a good reason why that's happening.
But why has he not vacated the European title then and gone for a final world eliminator or something? Like, he's the European. You can't just say, look, I've never seen in any other division, Ken, a European champion more avoided than him. It's crazy.
For good reason.
Yeah, but it's crazy though, isn't it? Normally people say I'll take European and then go on. They're saying I don't even want to fight the European champion. I'll try my chances elsewhere.
But look at his last 2 fights, and I'll ask yourself a question: why? You got to bet against yourself, mate. You got to have confidence in this game. Yeah, I know you got to be smart. But you don't manage Conor Benn's career. He's been carefully managed by the man that is Eddie Hearn. You know,
And
hello, right? How you doing, mate?
and we get
Hey,
Ra in as
Evening,
well in this
gents.
chat.
yeah,
Evening,
but
Ra. We're just talking about Conor Benn and what you think about this fight, and just go with it, Ra. Let us know what you feeling about this fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's an acceptable fight as a learning fight. Not an acceptable headliner, in my opinion, especially if you're planning on going up against the Eubank Williams Humdinger on the same night. Don't know what. Well, I guess Eddie didn't expect that to happen, did he? He seems to be banking on Conor's star power, which I'm not convinced is as high as he thinks yet. I don't know what you guys think. I mean,
Do you think Eddie's peaking a bit too soon on that one? Do you think maybe after this fight or a couple more fights, it might be where Eddie thinks it is right now?
I actually agree with you, Joe. I don't know what Eddie's plan with him is because he's skipped the whole British and European level, which is fair enough. I mean, people forget. I mean, I know people are talking about, why don't you sticking him in with Jerron Ellis or Ennis, and these Americans, they've been boxing since they were 5 years old. They've been through, Golden Gloves, Olympic trials. They got huge amateur pedigrees. There's no comparison with Conor. What, did he have a dozen amateur fights or something? Nah, I mean, it's fine that he's having these learning fights, but he's sort of bypassed that sort of learning stages, and he's now sort of at the fringe world level where you can get these washed up names, but then what? I mean, the only way you can go is to actual world level, and then the jump is a quantum leap, because then you're suddenly coming up against, for a start, welterweights who are huge at the weight, really good amateur pedigrees. And on top of that, another factor is I don't even think politically Benn can get any further than he is, simply because look at the world title picture. 3 out of the 4 belts are in the PBC hands, with probably the fourth to come, because when Crawford's contract with Top Rank are up, he'll probably join them. The top contenders are all with PBC. As Eddie himself keeps saying, he's not going to get any favours from the PBC. I can't even see in the next 2 years Conor even getting anything like a final eliminator. So he's just stuck in this limbo of fighting, top 20, top 30 guys. Yeah, I mean, it's okay as a learning experience, but I don't think they're really any preparation for the real elite. Well,
is that why they're throwing the names of like Broner around, Rod? Do you think that's why they're throwing their names? Because they know they're not really going to be challenging for a world title any soon. So you got to try and just throw big names out there. Because I agree with you. This ain't a headliner for me. It ain't a main event fight.
I'm guessing that I presume that's part of it. It's confusing to know what he's doing. Look, Ken, you made some interesting points about what Hearn and Matchroom are doing with their fighters. Are they planning on throwing him into the deep end next year? I don't know. It's confusing to me. Can't say I'm too excited about the Algieri fight though. To come back to your earlier point, like I said, it is an acceptable learning fight. I think people are annoyed because of the way Hearn goes on about Benn as if he's just a couple of fights away from a world title fight. And I think knowledgeable fans will know, well, actually, if you're still fighting your Algieris and Guerreros of this world, yeah, that's a long way off from being ready for Ugas, or never mind someone like Crawford. I mean, funnily enough,
Baffling.
actually, I don't know if you guys agree with this. I actually think the most vulnerable of the welterweight champions now is Spence. These repeat injuries.
Do you think? Is it because of? Is it? Oh,
no,
right, you're saying injuries.
It's the repeat injuries. I think the repeat injuries. Probably that car crash has had some sort of lasting effect. If he had a head injury in that car crash, may well have reduced punch resistance as a result. A lot of people are saying we don't know if we'll ever see Spence in the ring again. let's see. But no,
Also, I think
either
he's
way,
quite big for the weight. I think maybe as you get older, he might even struggle for the weight at 147 as well. I think that might be an issue for Spence because he's a big 147.
He is. He's huge at the weight, over 30 now. So the metabolism, as Galahad found, you're gonna be boiling off that extra weight. Yeah, he might be done at welterweight, but like I said, the guys waiting in the wings. There's no easy route to a world title for Benn.
No.
So I really don't know. I think it was.
That's why they got to get there. He's learning, right, Raj? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Look, I know David Avanesian is a beast, and look, he is a beast. But if you've got ambitions of being a world champion, for me, I like the traditional route. I like going through the Commonwealth, British title, European. I know that doesn't happen for some fighters, but Conor Benn at this moment in time, he should. It's not. I don't think it'd be no disrespect if he fights for the British title at this moment in time, because where is he going? He's not fighting for the European title.
I fully agree with you.
That would probably be a better main event than the Chris Algieri fighting for the British title.
Absolutely.
I don't know who the British champion is at the moment, but
S.O. Eckerman.
Yeah, well, I'll be up for that. S.O. Eckerman, that'd be a great fight. He just beat Evans, if I'm correct.
Yes,
Who Benn tried fighting a few times.
He's with Queensbury, isn't he?
He is, and Frank has
Queensbury.
mentioned it, that, you don't want Avanesian because that's too big a jump. Well, Echo, British champion. You know, Echo, probably not as much of a beast as Avanesian, but he's a good fighter. He's unbeaten. He's on a good run of form. And he'll come to win. And that's
Eddie don't want that. Eddie don't want that. Eddie, I think what's happening right now is that Eddie's thinking about life after Anthony Joshua in terms of like the cash card for matching. Because remember the poster board for pay-per-view before Anthony was Carl Froch, then it's Anthony Joshua. So what's happening right now? He needs, this guy could be, he's a meal ticket. So again, he's not going to risk his meal ticket by putting him with David, Avanesian.
I'd go for the British title, and then David Avanesian ain't going to be staying European champion long. He's edging his bets at the moment. He's trying to get the Conor Benn fight. If that's not going to happen, the guy's going to fight for a world title eliminator, and he ain't going to have no worries about going in with the likes of a Crawford or a Spence. He might not win, but he's got that pedigree behind him, Avanesian, where he's going to go in there and challenge. And I just think, it just baffles me that I've never seen a European champion more avoided than David Avanesian. And full credit to the guy. Obviously, he's got that fearsome reputation. But I like people who back themselves. And you got to back yourselves in boxing. It's a sport where you got to be very confident in your own ability.
Yeah, but Jake.
And I'm not saying Conor Benn. There's a lot of fighters out there not fighting David Avanesian. I'm not just saying it's Conor Benn, because I'm not seeing many fighters offering to fight him. Let's be real. You're not seeing many fighters coming out saying, and the fighter that does come out and say I'll fight him, I'll give you a lot of plaudits, because I want to see a fighter come out and say, look, no, I'll fight you. I want to challenge for your European title. Because at the moment, all I'm hearing is no one wants to fight him. We're in a boxing sport. You're not going to get no fights if you're going to keep saying, oh, I ain't going to fight him. Apparently, all fighters want to fight each other. I'm not even hearing anyone from the no one from Conor Benn's side's even saying, I ain't going to fight him, but or I don't want to fight him, or I do want to fight him. It's just all about, it's business. I want to hear someone go, no, look, I would do him, but it just ain't making sense. Eddie Hearn just comes out with, it's high risk, low reward. Mate, in life, it's all like that. Let's be real. Come on. If you beat David Avanesian, your stock's going to go up 100%. And if you lose to him, your stock's not going to go down too much either. So come on. It's not like if he fights some random Belarusian guy or someone from Latvia for the European title and then loses, then where do you go from there? You're not going to lose anything if you lose to David Avanesian. He's just beat Josh Kelly. No one wants to fight him. You're going to be at the same level. You're not going to go down a level. But if you beat David Avanesian, your stock goes up even more in the business world. So what are you going to do?
But Jay, you're talking about the fight game. But right now, these guys are businessmen as well. And I know. Obviously, we got our cousins in UFC where everyone seems to matchmaking seems to be much easier. But boxing hasn't changed from when I've been watching it. There's always been his self-preservation. With this guy Conor Benn, especially with Eddie Hearn, if he's what I think he is, the next cab of the rank when it comes to being a poster boy and a meal ticket, then there's no way he's going to be risked until he, somehow where
You
again
can't keep planning. You can't keep planning who's going to be the poster boy. As we saw last night, boxing doesn't go the way that you can't think 2 steps ahead. You can't think this person's going to be the.
Eddie does though. Eddie's been
Well,
Eddie's been getting away with it. He's been getting away with it, and he's actually coined in twice with first Carl Froch and with AJ. So Eddie,
yeah, but we'll catch up with him as it is now, Ken. But you can't keep saying this person, that person. Take each fight as it comes, and look, just dare to be great. You're in a sport where your career is not very long, and as you've seen, lots of fights don't get made, and it just really annoys me. Look, I'm not just saying it about Conor Benn because this isn't just about Conor Benn. I'm just saying it happens with a lot of fights that don't get made, and we're going to it soon with the Kell Brook and Amir Khan. I know everyone's bored of that, but that's in the news at the moment. We're going to that soon. But I just think life's about opportunities, and sometimes you just got to take the opportunity with whatever. And if you don't back yourself, then that's cool. People ain't going to come out publicly and say, "Look, I don't back myself." But you're fighting for a European title. For me, it's all about straps. And if you want to fight for a title, he's got no titles. Let's be real. Conor Benn's got no titles to his collection. Normally, when you're fighting people like Chris Algieri, as I said, the washed-up world-level kind of people, you've got a Commonwealth title behind you, a European title, a British title. You've got some sort of... If he fights Chris Algieri and loses, he's got nothing. Like, just collect a few titles at the moment. Someone in the comments said they might make this title an IBO title. Who gives a shit about IBO? Sorry for my language and that. But no one really cares about it. Let's be real. It's a paper title where it just says, okay, I just want to see the best fights happen. And when does people know when people's primes are? People's primes are different. Look at Kiko Martinez. Was that his prime last night, 35? Some people prime later in their life. Some people prime at 21. And then some people prime in their mid-20s.
Mike Tyson, 20. His prime was 20, isn't it, Mike Tyson?
But you get these people saying, "Oh, when you hit 28, 29, they're being their prime." They might be past it by their prime.
Everyone, you're right about that. Can I make a point, Ken? What you were saying about the whole cash cow thing, building Conor up. Yeah, you're right. I think that's what Hearn wants, but you don't really become a real cash cow until you can win world titles.
Yeah.
And there just doesn't seem to be anything preparing him. I mean, Hearn must know the welterweight division is one of the toughest divisions. It always has been. He must look at the rankings and look, it's full of Americans, Kazakhs, Uzbeks who've been Olympic and world amateur champions, all waiting for when Crawford and Spence move up. That he isn't getting the preparation to even get a shout in against these guys. So when is he going to be this cash cow? I mean,
that's a good question. But it's the way
it's just confusing.
It's the way he, the way he talks about Conor Benn, the way the way he's got it clearly been marketed. Again, I ask the same questions. I'm thinking, right, because I look at them talking about Conor Benn, and I look at his fight and I say, you know what? Yeah, this is a good fight for him, because I don't know if he's going to be. He's definitely not going to be ready next year. The year afterwards, I'm not sure either. So I do share your sentiments, but for some reason, it's Conor this, Conor Benn this, Conor then that, and that's the impression I'm getting.
No, I believe the hype, Ken. But I'll just say, if you believe the hype, back up the hype. Don't say that this guy is the best thing since sliced bread, but then you're throwing in with washed up fighters. That's my point. I've got confidence that Conor Benn can go and do a job, because of what I've seen.
Do you think he can be a world champion in the next 2 years?
I believe. Why not? Because look at Kiko Martinez last night. Why not? Because this guy is a young guy with a lot of testosterone. This guy is to work in the gym, and I believe that this guy would give it everything that he's got. But what I'm saying is, who says that he's going to be ready in 2 years? As I say, his prime might be now. 2 years' time, who knows? He might not. I think he went through a period in his career where he went 18 months without fighting, or he fought once in 18 months a couple of years ago. Who says that ain't going to happen again? He gets a hand injury against Algieri. You're out for a year and a half, and then the next hype train's there, and then he's another year behind in his career. What I'm saying is, life's about opportunities. And if you get an opportunity to do whatever you're doing, then do. Look, my personal opinion is that he goes through Algieri in 2 rounds. I don't think that's a great learning curve because, as I said, Algieri was fighting Tommy Coyle 2-3 years ago. No disrespect to Tommy Coyle. I love Tommy Coyle. But he said in his own world he was a British level fighter. And if Algieri's fighting him 3 years ago, what level's Algieri at right now? I know he's a tough guy, but he's been working as a pundit. He's a half-hearted fighter at the moment. He's at the end of his career. I can't see any benefit in it apart from it's a name on the CV.
Weren't we saying that yesterday? Weren't we saying that 2 days ago? When we were talking about Kid Galahad fighting Kiko Martinez.
But Martinez has been active.
Yeah, true, yeah. But
and he's a world champion, former world champion.
He's former world champion. But in terms of like the mindset, in terms of what we're talking about, overconfidence, turning, writing these guys off. Whatever happens, Conor Benn still has to put in a performance. He still has to get the win, and then we start talking.
I just think before we go on to some other fights and some other big shows, and we nip this one in the bud, I just think people think too much about fights nowadays. A fight is a fight. You got 2 guys, you train, you have a game plan, you go in there. People overcomplicate things. They're thinking too much about it. Anything can happen in a fight. People get worried. They're like, who knows that Conor Benn don't come out in the first round and just lands one on David Avanesian. I'm not saying that could happen, that's going to happen, but it can happen. There's too many people that worry about what ifs and what not. If you train hard, you believe in your coach and your team, whatever happens will happen. And as I say, as fans, all you want is a good, entertaining fight and someone gives their all. And in that fight, Conor Benn isn't a loser, even if he loses, because his stock will still be high. And also, if he wins, his stock goes higher. So it's not really a low-risk, high-reward kind of fight for me, or whatever way Eddie wants to put it. For me, a fight's a fight at the end of the day. You're fighters. That's like getting a football match and Tottenham pull out Arsenal in the FA Cup and they say, nah, we'll miss this one. You never know. They might do us. They're our rivals. We'll play someone else, please. It doesn't work like that. It's just, if you're a competitor and you're at a certain level, fight each other. It just, for me, I know that's the way of boxing nowadays, but I'm just a pure boxer where if you're the best, you'll fight the best. And it's not going to happen, but we're going to another show and we'll get your thoughts, Ra. We'll start with you. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Liam Williams. I'm buzzing for this fight. I think it's going to be a great fight.
Fantastic fight. Fantastic.
Let me know. You hit us off, Raj. Tell us what your thoughts are.
Fantastic fight. It will be a war. I don't think it needs too much hyping. Clearly, there's a bit of needle there, which is always good. Glad it's gone to Wales, actually, because the atmosphere will be buzzing. Really looking forward to it.
How do you see the fight going? Play it out for us, and then I'll go to you, Ken. After Ra, we'll get your thoughts on it.
It's hard to see. See, a lot of people are saying, well, look, Eubank couldn't get Morrison out there and Zach Parker got him out in 4 rounds. So is he going backwards? I don't think so. I think it's a case of he's used his last couple of fights to practice some moves that Roy Jones is teaching him. Don't know how well he's really going to be with this sort of hybrid style of his, if that's what it turns out to be. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. For all the criticism Eubank gets, I think he does have some great physical tools. Tremendous engine, tremendous chin, and no mean punching power either. I think people forget I think he took Yildirim out more conclusively than Canelo did. So, so I think he's got great physical tools there. I would imagine maybe stopping Williams late, stopping him on his feet maybe. But I think it's going to be a great war. Look forward to it. I'll be tuning into that, not the other show on the same night.
So we got Rara's BT. Ken, your thoughts on the Williams-Eubanks fight, and what one will you be tuning in, or will you be going, you guys? Will you be going to any of the shows?
Nah. I'm looking to go to Cardiff if I can. Yeah.
What's it? I'll be at the Arsenal Southampton game, so I don't think I'll have enough time. I don't have enough time to get to Cardiff.
But who will you be tuning into for Fight Night, Ken? What will it be? Will it be DAZN or will it be BT?
Sky, you mean?
Oh, Sky. Yeah, sorry, Sky. Yeah, sorry, Sky Show.
Well, the one I'll be tuning into obviously is going to be Sky, because at the end of the day, don't get me wrong. The Zone, as you say, they do some really good things, but for me, I'll definitely be watching the Sky Show. But one thing I will say, in terms of that fight, they have been calling each other out a lot of times, and you have to take look at Liam Williams' last fight against Dimitri Andrade. Like I said, Andrade put him down in the second round, I think, and it was Andrade was the clear winner, but there were certain things that that I thought that Williams acquitted himself really well. However, one thing about Chris Eubank Jr. as well is that when he does get his punches off, he does throw a lot of good combos, and I think it's going to remind me of. It kind of reminds me of the same sort of needle we had with Spike O'Sullivan, and I think he's going to end the.
No, I agree. I think, like what you both said and what Ryan said, it's going to be a barnstorming of a fight. And what I love about it is the needle. I love the background. I love the story. That always really gets me hyped up for a fight when there's a bit of needle.
Hold on 1 minute.
Man, that's no worries, Ken. We'll carry on. I love it. I love a bit of needle into a fight, a bit of spite, and also what I think is perfect. Like, I love Liam Williams, and I'm not saying I want Liam Williams to win, but what I do believe is that Liam Williams has got a great opportunity here to, if he beats Chris Eubank Jr., to obviously get another world title shot. But I believe that the styles make fight. Like what you were saying, people said about Eubank against Marcus Morrison. Is it step back? Fights, styles make fights, and the styles of these two guys would gel perfectly. But I believe it will work in Eubank Jr.'s favour. I believe Marcus Morrison stood off him quite a bit. Eubank Jr. is a more of a reactive fighter. When someone's coming onto him, he likes someone pressurising him, coming with the quick combinations, working the body. And as you said, Rye, stamina is second to none. He's got an absolute iron chin. We haven't really seen that tested too much. I know that obviously he's been in a couple of tough fights, but he's got a really good chin. His physical attributes, as you said, are on point. He's got great combinations, and his power is, it's not to be sniffed at. And I just believe that it could benefit Eubank Williams coming onto him. I can see maybe the corner throwing the towel in, or the ref stopping it, as you said. But with Liam Williams, he likes a dogfight, and he could take Eubank into muddy waters. But I do believe that maybe a Eubank stoppage late would be, if I was a betting man, someone said throw a tenner on, I would probably go Eubank with a late stoppage. But it is a great fight. And that's what I mean. I don't like it when people dismiss fighters who lose. That's bullshit to me. I like to see a good fight, and I respect both competitors. And to me, you're all winners. If you put on a great fight, you're all winners. And Liam Williams and Chris Eubank is a great British domestic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing Slick Boxing's comment. I don't know what point he's making. Okay, maybe they are only British or European level, but it's still a great fight. I mean, if he's saying that, what is it? Is it being promoted as a world level fight or a world title eliminator? I don't think it is. It is being promoted as a domestic grudge match. If that's what level they're at, so be it. It's still a great fight. There's great fights at every level of the game. So yeah, I mean, exactly. I guess Sky, with their massive marketing, they will push Eubank if he wins this towards a world title fight, and maybe he doesn't deserve it, but that is the way of boxing. But yeah,
well, he should do though, shouldn't he? If he beats Williams, if he beats Williams, then he should fight the winner of Andrade and Quigley. I don't, because does Jason Quigley deserve a world title shot over Chris Eubank Jr.? I don't think so. I think Chris Eubank Jr. has done a lot more. And Williams just lost to Andrade, so I think that's the route they might be going. But at least it's not on pay-per-view. There was rumours. I definitely wouldn't have got it on pay-per-view. It's not a pay-per-view fight, but it's a great fight. And if we're going on for Sky, I think it's a great fight for them at the moment. They're 6 months into their new deal with Boxer and everything, and I think that's a great fight, especially when you got Chris Eubank Jr. with his name on its own. Sells a fight, because you've got people that tune in to see him lose. Let's be real, a lot of people tune in to see Chris Eubank Jr. lose, not to win. For me, I've got past that. I've got. I think, as I said to Joe the other day, I said that I like Chris Eubank Jr. He has his persona when he fights, and he's Chris Eubank Jr. when he does the punditry, and I really like him when he's on the punditry. I think he's a really nice guy. So I'm just embracing that. And the undercard. Who do you think will have the better undercard? Because we've heard Clarissa Shields is going to be on that. For me, that's fantastic. There is someone of her caliber coming over to the United Kingdom and to be on that undercard. So I'll go with you, Ken, and then we'll go to Ra about that. Are you looking forward to Clarissa Shields on that undercard? And will that give Sky Sports the edge?
Sky Sports have got the edge by the fact that Chris Eubank's fighting Liam Williams. You know what I mean? That gives it the edge for me.
But
anyway.
Katie Taylor's on the Conor Benn card, so I was going to go on to that in a minute. So I'm just going to get us weigh up what you think's the better show.
But Chris Eubank Jr. is a bigger star in boxing than Katie Taylor for me, anyway.
No,
I'd agree
no, Ken,
He is. Chris Eubank, the Eubank name is bigger than the Taylor name.
No.
The Eubank name is bigger than Taylor.
Katie Taylor, it goes. I know it's Ireland, but not even in the UK. No, I'm not getting that. No, Olympic gold medalist twice, if I'm right.
If Chris Eubank Jr. and Katie Taylor were fighting at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'll start for Chris Eubank Jr., not for Katie Taylor.
Get in the comments, people.
Who's
a bigger name in boxing, Katie Taylor or Chris Eubank Jr.? Ken, I can't see your point. I know Chris Eubank Jr. is a name, but Katie Taylor, what she's done? How many world titles has she won? Olympic gold medals. This ain't reality TV. I believe Katie Taylor is mate. I would definitely tune in. I'm not I don't like comparing them, but I wouldn't say I'd tune into Chris Eubank over her. I love Katie Taylor. I think Katie Taylor is definitely a big name, man. I think for me, she's on the same level as Clarissa Shields. Personally, for me, and Clarissa Shields is meant to be the GOAT of women's boxing, so I'm not too sure about that. The name's bigger, but Katie is definitely bigger than Junior. They're saying in the comments, Ken. But what were you saying about that, Ra? Do you think Eubank's bigger than Katie Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to think so. I mean, if you were to ask people on the street if they've heard of Chris Eubank,
they say senior, not junior.
but because of the
that's default.
Name,
that's default.
How many people would have heard of Katie Taylor in England? Accepted in Ireland, but I mean, Ireland's got a population of like 4 million.
I know she had a classic with Jonas at the London Olympics 2012.
She's probably relatively a far superior fighter to Eubank, relatively, before anyone gets butthurt about it in terms of her achievements. Yeah. But as a name, I'm not convinced she's a household name in all over the UK. Amongst casual fans, let's be honest, the majority of casual fans are still going to be overwhelmingly male, probably a bit chauvinistic, like I probably was a few years ago. But to be fair, women have won me over with their brilliant performances. But the truth is, at the moment, I still think Eubank. If Eubank had a world title crack against Triple G or Charlo,
but Rob, the other fighters are making that fight. No, but let's put it this way:
can Katie Taylor fight anyone and on her own sell out a stadium or a large arena?
No, because I think female boxing ain't at the same level as male boxing. It's not the same level. I think if you took her to Ireland, she sells out any stadium in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you took her over there and she fought anyone, she would sell out a stadium in Ireland.
Agreed.
Maybe not England. Not England. It's difficult.
England and say America are much bigger markets. So I think Eubank, he is the bigger box office draw. In answer to what you said about the undercards, I just had a quick look at both of them. To be honest, neither of them are great. I think the Eubank one, if Savannah hadn't been injured, that would have been good because there'd have been that sort of needle, in the build-up between Clarissa and Savannah. I think both the women co-events actually are really hard fights. They've both got really hard challenges. So wouldn't be surprised if we saw an upset there. This Kazakh lady who's fighting Katie. I mean, we know Kazakhstan's got a great amateur system. Wouldn't be surprised if she upset the apple cart there. And this Emma Kozin, don't know much about her. She's got a good record. So those could be good fights. But the other fights on the cards, as it stands, there's nothing great. It's not like the show on the 18th, for example, the Chisora Parker undercard. There's a couple of what I think are bangers on the undercard. But no, I'm inclined to agree with Ken. I think Eubank's name alone will make the Sky show the bigger show.
And 2-1, you guys win that one. Eubank Jr. is bigger than KT. I will admit defeat on that one, as we're all a team here. There's no hard feelings in that, but I agree. If Eubank Jr. is in a world title fight, look, I'll definitely tune into it. But obviously, I think the name is helped with his father's achievements a lot. But look, both of them are great athletes in their own right. And look, as fans, I don't like comparing people too much. As also, Slick Boxing says here, stop all this Taylor hype. She's on the slide, lost to a part-time police officer. Savannah Marshall interests me more, and Chantel Cameron. Look, let's get behind all the fighters. Let's not just say, well, why do we always got to dig a fighter out? It's not like football where you have to like one and not like the other. You can like both. Let's be real. Like, you get it. The mentality goes over from football to boxing all the time. Why can't we support all these fighters? You don't have to be religiously like behind one fighter. Like, I love Tyson Fury, I love Anthony Joshua, and I love Dillian White. What am I, like a fence sitter or something? No, I appreciate all their abilities in different ways, but for some reason, if you hype up or say you like someone's got to come in and dig saying, why do you like him? Look, I like all boxers. Unless they do something horrific or something, then I'm going to support all fighters. Like that fight last night. I don't know if you guys see it. Munguia versus Rosado. Like, I'm a neutral fan, but I appreciate both guys. Obviously, Jamie Munguia is an absolute beast, but let's just all respect all fighters. Let's not just have to. We can all have an opinion, but Ken, let's go on to. We went on about welterweights, and there's a big welterweight fight coming up this weekend. Crawford versus Sean Porter. For me, that's a great fight. As a boxing fan, I respect Sean Porter. The guy's game as anything. We've seen him before when he's fought Kell Brook. I know he's beat Usyk as an amateur. He couldn't even remember. I remember hearing a story. He said he couldn't even remember that he beat Usyk because Usyk was obviously a welterweight when he beat him. And then he said he saw this guy 2 years later fighting at a heavier weight, and it was the guy he beat, and he couldn't believe it. But Crawford as well, obviously meant to be one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Ken, what are you saying about that fight, and how are you seeing that going, and what do you see for the future for the winner?
Well, I see Crawford as a pound-for-pound fight. You know, like pound-for-pound. I rate him really that highly. I have a lot of respect for Sean Porter. I really do. He's a game professional. He's got a great pedigree, ex-world champion. But when I look at like the skills on show, and I look at the the ability as well, I can't look anything other than a unanimous points decision. I don't think it's even going to get close. I don't think it's even close. I'll have it 117, 111. That's how clear I think Crawford's going to win.
Ken's gone straight in there with the unanimous decision and the points decision. Ken's gone straight in there.
I've got points. I don't see Sean Porter. Like I said,
but Sean Porter's a dog though. He's a dog. We've seen him many times. He can make good fighters look very basic on a good night.
He'll get tamed. That dog will get tamed. He'll get tamed.
And look, it could happen, but I'm just saying, Sean Porter's a bit of a dog. He does make it a bit scrappy. He reminds me of, I don't want to be this Scrappy Doo from Scooby Doo. He's smaller than a lot of the other welterweights, but he's always throwing. He's always giving his all. He's always very aggressive. I love Sean Porter, but yeah, Ra, what's your thoughts on this fight? And obviously, as Ken said, Terence Crawford is one of the top pound-for-pound champions. Although his
Yeah,
promoter can't promote him. Well, that baffles me.
I hate having to agree with Ken, but yeah, I'm definitely Team Crawford. Big fan of his. So much so that I'm actually gonna tip him to be the first man to stop Crawford. Porter, sorry. Yeah, I think once he's sort of worked out all his moves, he'll up the tempo. You know, his timing and precision's impeccable. We saw the way he caught Kell Brook, and I think in the last part of the fight, the last quarter of the fight, he'll be nailing Porter repeatedly. And yeah, force a stoppage, probably stopping him on his feet. I don't think he puts him to sleep, but for me, I think he should be the pound for pound number one ahead of Canelo, which I know is almost sacrilege to say right now. He isn't, because his resume isn't good enough, as you said. That's more his promoter's fault. And it's a pity he's now 35. Whether he'll have time to rectify that, we'll have to see. I believe his top rank contract's up.
Yeah, I think it's his last fight, yeah.
This is his last fight. I hope he doesn't mess around and actually, just for the sake of his legacy, just go to Al Heyman and say, right, you win. Where do I sign? As long as you now get me Spence, Ugas, all the rest of them, like, now, my next fight. You know, no more tune-ups, no more, you know, warm-ups. Straight in with those guys. Make it happen. That's what I hope he does. And I don't think anyone can argue. I don't think
it's got to be them big fights after.
Resume. Yeah, I mean, look, I know everyone goes on about Canelo and Usyk being, you know, undisputed in their respective weight classes. If he can become undisputed at 147, having been undisputed at 140, I think that's a better achievement, because he's basically a blown-up lightweight and he's stopping big welterweights. So that, for me, is why I rate him so highly. It's just from his sheer skill, he's able to stop these men who are much bigger than him. But yeah, that's my prediction. I'm going.
Look, I'm loving it.
Crawford round 10 to 12, and hopefully that'll set up the real big fight.
We got Kenny Ken. Kenny Ken give us a unanimous decision, 117-111. Ra's given us the first guy to stop Porter with a late stoppage. And look, I love that, because look, I was about to say it earlier, Porter has got a chin like iron. No one stopped him so far, and for someone to stop him would be a great achievement. But Porter just is one of them fighters that I see as just an all-round seasoned world-class fighter. He might not be the one that's got all the straps or anything. He's kind of like a David Avanesian type of fighter, where you ain't gonna be. Look, Conor Benn ain't gonna be getting thrown in the mix to fight Sean Porter, even if he loses this fight. Let's be real. Eddie Hearn's not gonna be throwing in the Sean Porter or anyone like that right now. Sean Porter is definitely a world-class 147 campaigner. And look, I love Terence Crawford, and let's be real, he's got the pound for pound douchebag for a promoter. Let's get that right. Bob Arum must be pound for pound number one for douchebags promoters, because he's got the number one or number two pound for pound fighter in the world, an unbeaten fighter, an undisputed 140 champion, and he can't make a fight for the guy. He's fought Kell Brook and Amir Khan in his last two fights. Let's be real, them guys have been out of their prime for a couple of years. Like these guys them guys shouldn't have been fighting for world titles. Let's be real. They're fighting each other next, and hopefully that'll be the end of both of them, because everyone's fed up of that fight, and we'll go on about that in a minute. Look, that should be done. But I think the one thing that will go against Crawford is his inactivity, and the fact that I felt like Bob Arum's been feeding him fodder for like the last 4 or 5 years. Since he's went up to 147, he's not really had the fights that he wanted. I know he done a job on Kell Brook, he done a job on Amir Khan, but Sean Porter's a different animal, man. This guy is game. And my prediction is a Crawford points win, because I think I'm not going to be stupid and just say, look, Porter's going to win, because what evidence have we got Crawford's going to lose? But I think it'd be a split decision. I think Porter might edge it on one of the scorecards, or it'd be 114, 114, and I think it might be 115, 113, 114, 112 or something. I think it's going to be a close fight, just because I think Porter could make it into a bit of a dogfight. But on the other hand, I wouldn't argue with what you guys think, because I think Crawford's that good that he could easily be the first guy to stop Porter, and I think he could easily get a unanimous decision as well. So look, guys, that's some great chat. But look, let's get on to Amir Khan and Kell Brook. One, will you go to it if it's on? Two, if you ain't, are you going to tune in and watch it? Because apparently I heard it might be on box office. And three, give me your predictions. Let me know what will happen if this gets on. Kenny, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Rara after. Let's go.
You know what? This fight is just pathetic. It's pathetic. they're both of them pathetic. You know, just retire gracefully. You're both shot fighters. It's just greed. It's greed. You know, you're thinking I missed out. You know, when you're both in your prime, you're crying out for this fight. But you know, I don't blame Kell Brook, by the way. I blame Amir Khan. He's thinking, oh, I've got so many. I could earn more money in America, which is rightly so. You know, the thing with Kell Brook is a top fighter, massive power in both hands, good skills. But is he marketable? I don't know. Eddie's done his best with him to make him marketable, and that's probably why Amir Khan didn't want to fight him. Also, as they say, Amir is very delicate around the whiskers, so I don't think he's going to want the humiliation of in his prime losing to a domestic fighter.
But since Kell Brook first said that, I think Kell Brook's a bit weak around the whiskers at the moment, so it's pretty even on that front, Ken.
I think that Amir's got the speed and the skills, but Kell's got the sort of, as Kell says, accuracy beats speed, and Kell's got the power to knock him out. But at this day.
Oh, you there, Ken?
We lost volume now.
No, in this day and age, I don't see. You know what? It's a vanity fight. I think it's basically a fight for all those fighters fans who thought, you know what? You know, we're finally going to get it. We're just going to pretend that they're both in their prime. Let's go and buy the fight and even get a ticket. I hope for the life of me they're not selling these tickets at high price, because that'd be asking a bit much. And I hope if it's pay-per-view, it's nothing less than nothing more than 10 quid, because that's all it's worth. and you know what? If it was about 3 or 4 years ago, I'd say Kell Brook knocks Amir Khan out. But seeing as you said, Kell Brook's a bit of it's questionable in terms of like his pedigree as well. I'd just say Amir Khan points, and it'd be a split.
Oh, right.
Well, I think Ken's being a bit harsh, calling it pathetic. Come on, if David Hay can get 6 million for jabbing his mate once and then moving around, I mean,
well, it should be. This fight should be on a trader card, though, right? It should be on the trader card,
yeah,
probably.
Well, that I was going to say. I don't think. Do I want to see it? No. Will I watch it? Possibly, as Ken said, if the price is reasonable, depending on the undercard. Personally, I think it should be somewhere like Dubai, so it can just pass as a sort of paid holiday for them both. And where the fans over there don't know any better either. They'll probably just be happy to have a big name who they've heard of, something like that. Because they're both equally as shot, it could be sort of competitive. The way, did you see the Victor Ortiz and Guerrero fight a few months back?
Yeah,
because they were both shot. They they weren't able to hurt each other much after like 4 rounds. So it could be something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if it end. I think it'd most likely end a split decision or even a draw. Because I think they might both get hurt at some point in the fight, and then they'll both be too cautious to try and go for it because they don't want the humiliation of being the one that loses. So we'll have to see what the whole show's like, what the undercard's like. I mean, is it even going to sell well now? I mean,
I
I know
don't
Hearn
think
keeps
so.
going on about putting Khan in with. I mean, Hearn seems to think Khan's still a big seller because he keeps going on about putting him in with Benn.
He's just looking for names for CVs, right? He's just looking for
Who
names
cares
like with
about Khan
Algieri.
now?
And Ben's going to walk through Khan, let's be real. Like Ken would, Conor Benn's
Yeah, he
power would walk through Khan.
Yeah, but you know the thing with like when you talk about Amir Khan, you said about David A making £6 million to fight his mate. As David, there's Tony Bellew says, where there's a penny or where there's a pound, you'll find David. I think you need to kind of put Amir Khan in that kind of category as well, where penny or a pound, and I think that's the thing. Kel Brook will say yes because at the end of the day he'll think, oh yeah, one more payday so I can sort out the Lindsay and the kids, and Amir Khan will think, you know what, one more shot. You know what I mean? Amir, both,
and so they should.
But
it should be their last fight. Let's be real. Like,
I mean, to be fair, I think it's a decent bow out, isn't it? Rather than just see them both fed to some young hungry lion like Benn and just get splattered. I think, all right.
I want a 4-round war
for a decade.
I think for the fans to make it up for the fans because of this long wait. Let's hope if it does happen, it's just a war.
They haven't got a war in them. They haven't got a war in them.
Well, let's just hope that for however long it lasts, maybe we see a couple of knockdowns. They give it their all because it's both their last fights. I've heard it might be on ITV box office. I'm not too sure. I agree with Ra. Maybe they should just throw it in Dubai. I know Amir Khan's got a lot of business out there, or in Saudi Arabia or something like that. Maybe that could make it work.
Well, at Spain,
I'm not too sure.
Kel Brook's popular in Spain anyway.
Yeah, look, wherever it could be done, it could be done. We know it ain't going to be on DAZN. I don't know who's going to take it on.
That's what I'm talking about, don't you, mate?
I think he does, Ken. Don't worry about that. But look, it's not a fight I'm looking forward to. There's a fight I'm looking forward to more, but I don't know if you guys are. Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul. What are you thinking about the camps then? Have you seen, obviously, Sugar Hill, Tyson Fury? Look at Ken straight away. Ken, I think this is a bigger fight than the Kel Brook Amir Khan fight, if I'm being serious. I've got more interest in it. I'm not going to lie. I'm definitely going to tune in for that one. But I'll start with you, Ra, as Ken looks like he's ticked off. We'll see him last.
I remember when you first asked me about this, I dismissed it. But I'm trying not to be such an old git, and actually, I watched Hatman's video on it, and he made some good points that because they're both young, dumb, and full of cum, if you'll excuse my language, they will more likely actually put on that war, which, like Ken said, the veterans like Khan and Brook ain't got, because of the needle and how much is at stake. I think they're likely to be more reckless, and it's more likely to be entertaining. And yeah, with all the sort of social media fans and the younger crowd that they're going to bring, I think they can make it a good event. Yeah, obviously Tommy's got the whole, his family background and a proper sort of coaching background. But Jake Paul, you look at his social media, I mean, a lot of proper American cruiserweights are going over to spar with him, at his training camp in Puerto Rico, and they all pretty much, yeah, I know, if you're getting paid enough, you'll say anything, but that's why it's fascinating, I think.
It's probably just body sparring, let's be real, I don't know, look, I'm going to give him props, I don't want to dismiss anyone. If he's training his arse off, that's all we can ask for. That's why I respect this sport, that the fighters, they train their arse off, they're dedicated, they're disciplined. My one issue with with Jake Paul, as I've always said, is that he's an online troll, and he's got a charity called Boxing Bullies that he tries to prevent boxing, tries to prevent bullying, and I'm really passionate about bullying, and I don't like it in any which way that it happens in, and that's my only issue with him. But he's training wise and that. He's training his ass off, as Ra said. He's bringing the training. I just like the story behind it. They put a story behind it where you got Tyson now training Tommy. It's bringing more of it into the public eye. Sugar Hill's involved. That for me, that makes it more of a better fight. There's more of a story, bit of a needle. Obviously, does he change his name to Tommy Fumbles? look, this guy ain't going to want to lose to Jake Paul. He's got his dad, who's John Fury, and his brother Tyson Fury there, who's the best fighter in the world as a heavyweight. The guy's going to be going there with a lot of confidence. I just have issues with. I don't know what the rules are. Like with Jake Paul fights, I don't know what the rules are. Are you allowed to knock him out or not? Like you hear rumours, can he be knocked out? Is it? I don't understand. Obviously, we'll find out in this fight because I don't think for one, Tommy's going to allow himself to lose. Two, you got Sugar Hill as your coach. You're going for a knockout, surely. So I'm just intrigued.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. I'll tell you how this is going to happen. People are going to be biting this fight, and I promise you, what's going to happen? You're going to see Jake Paul missing a lot, trying to throw punches, and Tommy Fury is just going to is going to dance and use his feet, and just basically get a points win. It's not. Let me tell you something. The hype's going to be
they won't give him a points win. Jake Paul is the home card.
Whatever the silliness is out there, no one's getting knocked out. All it's going to be is Tommy Fury fainting, move, bang, bang, in and out. It will just use. That's what it's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Basically, what's happening right now? Enjoy the hype whilst it happens. Enjoy the Twitter exchanges. Enjoy the insults towards Tommy Fury's reality TV fight. Enjoy enjoy John Fury making a wazzock of himself and talking, and then Tyson Fury and Sugar Hill, because that is what you're going to get. I promise you, you're going to get a situation where Jake Paul is not going to lay a glove on him, and it's going to be fight and move and box and move. I promise you that, and you'll be mightily disappointed.
Do we know what the undercard's going to involve yet?
Amanda Serrano probably will be on there. I'm pretty adamant she'll be on there because she's like, I don't know if she's being managed by Jake Paul, but she was on the last one. He's in Puerto Rico with her. I know that even Eddie Hearn said the other day he's working with Jake Paul to make the Serrano-Katie Taylor fight. So that's how involved he is with her. So I presume she'll be on the undercard. Did I read that? No, that's on the Triller. Did you hear about Kubrev Pulev fighting Frank Mir? The
this
UFC
mixed
fight.
MMA. Yeah.
Got no time for that. But the undercard, I'm not too sure. I know it'd be Serrano, but other than that, I don't have a clue. Hopefully, you can get someone like Isaac Lowe on there or someone from Team Fury. A few fighters like that would be quite good. But no, I'll just throw that question in there because I know what Ken's opinion is on Jake Paul and all that. But look,
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. The problem we have nowadays, right, is that because we got so much wall-to-wall boxing, everyone's in a main wants to be a boxer. They want to be it. They think because they study, and I think that's the situation. But at the end of the day, if you've got a profile, you've got all that money where you've got people who are going to promote you and you're going to sell tickets. Why not? I'm not begrudging them, but I'm old-fashioned where I think fighters who've worked their nuts off should be the ones who should be in the forefront. But then again, if we're getting like the WWE, if you have to have a profile, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
It's the way the world's changing. But look, we're going to go for another 10, 15 minutes, and I want to end it with some neutral opinions from both guys. It's the Chisora Parker card. I know Ra mentioned it. It's a great undercard and that. I love the press conference. Del Boy always delivers. He's on about paying the judges. Who's he got to pay? I see him. He phoned up Robert Smith saying, "How do I get an American ref?" I love that with Del Boy. He brings the comedy gold. He always puts Eddie on the spot, which I love as well. He puts Eddie shitting it every time that Del Boy's up there because he's either asking for a higher purse live on camera. He's asking for all sorts of demands. I love that fight. I think any fight Del Boy's in, I know people would say he's this, he's that. I love him. He brings all the energy to the press conferences. He brings the fight to the fighters. Joseph Parker, I think he could do a lot of stuff under Andy Lee. I really rate Andy Lee. I think he's fantastic. It'd be interesting to see what he's learned in his second fight. And obviously the undercard's pretty well. So, Ra, we'll start with you, as you mentioned it earlier. What fights on the undercard you're looking forward to? And do you see the main event going differently from the first fight, or do you see it going the same ways? And does Del Boy need to bribe the judges?
No, I think, that's just part of the Del Boy sort of the persona that he puts out there, which is all good fun. But no, I don't think he's been particularly robbed in either of his last two fights. The first fight was close. I personally would have, especially with the knockdown, just gave it to him. But when it's that close, you can't say it was a robbery. I think Parker might stop him this time. All those years, those hard fights, they must be catching up on Del Boy. Parker is still relatively fresh. It seems like he's been around forever, but he hasn't got many miles on the clock. He doesn't take much punishment in his fights. Bit of an underachiever, I think, but I think with Andy Lee coaching him that longer time he's had, I think he might put his punches together better and stop Del Boy this time round. I'll be cheering for my fellow North Londoner, of course. Del Boy is from just down the road from me. But at 36, a long, hard career behind him, I think it might catch up with him. The fight I'm looking forward to mostly is Buatsi v Vlasov. I think that is a dangerous fight, especially as we've seen. You guys were talking about it earlier, that here in Britain we seem to have overrated a lot of our fighters. I'm not saying Buatsi is overrated. I actually, for me, he's one of the fighters I do have a lot of hope in. And yeah, obviously going over there to America, that might have added more to his skill set. But this will tell us a lot, and I agree with Eddie Hearn with this, that if he beats Vlasov, he's ready for any of the world champions, I think, because Vlasov is of that level. Lerone Richards, the super middleweight, interesting fight. Is it Gongora, the puncher? That's another one I'm really, really interested in. I think the super middleweights, the whole scene, but certainly a lot of these Brits, I think they're manoeuvring themselves for the post-Canelo super middleweight environment. Because at some point next year, you'd imagine Canelo will vacate at least some belts. And yeah, a lot of these guys are probably positioning themselves to maybe fight for vacant belts. But that's a really interesting one. Lerone, obviously not known as a puncher, but no doubt he's very skilled. So, but yeah, this is a big step up for him. So,
no.
So yeah, those are the two that I'm most looking forward to. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful stuff there, Ra. I totally
How about
agree
you,
with
Ken?
you there. Yeah, Ken, what are you saying?
Well, in terms of the thing about it is that in terms of Derek Chisora, when I watched the fight with Parker, yes, he put him on his ass. He did it. But when I watched it, and I was convinced that Parker won that convincingly in points. So I thought, right, Derek Chisora's argued. David A said, wrong. Listen. So I watched it again, and I'm still convinced that Parker did the better, fought better in the later stages of the fight. I thought he was a better boxer, and he was a clear win for me. So in terms of rematch, what is Derek going to do differently? I honestly don't know. I think that Parker is probably going to, if I was Parker, I won't, fight upright. I'll try and engage with Derek and try and take him out properly, which he's more than capable of doing. Because as he said, right, the thing with Joseph Parker, I look at him and I'm thinking, yeah, you were a world champion. You beat Andy Ruiz. But from what I've seen from you, there's got to be more in the locker than what I've seen. I mean, let's face it, Dillian White, for about 11 rounds, absolutely outmanned you. And it was only Dillian White's empty tank that let you in the fight in the 12th round. So, and then I see you against Chisora. You made a mistake in the first round, got put down. After that, redeemed yourself. So I need to see more from Parker. I really need to see more from him. But in terms of the undercard, obviously, Buatsi as well, Vlasov. Matt, guy's got great experience. He's got 45 fights. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to be abroad, so I'm going to probably have to watch that abroad. If anyone can send me a link, I'm sure I'll contact you guys before that. And then obviously, you've got the Salford Barrett's fighting on that card as well. And you've got Gongora versus Lamona Richards again. It's super middleweight. So again, he's got only 3 knockouts out of 15. So it's one of those fights where you think, it is a more encouraging card. But you notice that every card that Eddie, has before Christmas, he always likes a card the week before Christmas. They normally are something to remember us by. And he does leave us some really good Christmas presents with his cards. Not just the main fight, but the undercard as well. So Eddie, in terms of that undercard, I think boxing fans would think Santa's come, because I think they should be entertained. But then again, you never know. Or it takes a punch to the chin, and it's like that. But potentially, I don't see anyone having any complaints with that card.
No, it's a great card. I totally agree. And also Eddie threw in the extra show on December the 11th. I know that's clashing with, obviously,
Do you think he's bothered by that? Do you think he's bothered by clashing with Sky?
Yeah, of course. But he's done it before. And for me as a fan, we missed a lot of boxing through COVID, so I don't give a shit if there's 2 shows on one night. I'll watch 2 shows on one night. So I'm happy with that.
Look what he did 3 years ago. He had, Dillian White against Gerald Chisora 2, alongside BT Sport, Frampton versus Warrington, which is a world title fight, a classic. And we were basically told to choose. Oh, yeah, BT Sport box office and Sky Sports box office. I mean,
that's why I'm not surprised, Ken.
What did you do?
That's why I'm not shocked. I'll just watch both. I know it's difficult for people. What did you
I
watched both. I had it on 2 tablets, mate. I had one on a TV, one on a tablet.
Yeah, you got one on your TV, one on your iPad, side by side.
Yeah. That's the way. That's how you got to do it now. Obviously, if you're into your boxing and that, you're going to do that. But it doesn't happen all the time. But as I said, when we went through COVID, we were begging for a show. So to get 2 on one night. Yeah, as a fan, I'm not going to grumble. It's a promoter's nightmare, really.
We only suffered for about 3 or 4 months, because Eddie, he had the outside shows in his back garden, which, let's face it, that gave us a bit of comfort. Although Dillian White, he had his head up that time, but he did kind of save our asses. But the problem is that I think the architect of the fact that so many fighters have defected to boxer is because they weren't getting enough chance on the roster. So stuff you, Eddie, will go elsewhere where we're going to get enough fighters in the roster. Because you got people like Joe Gallagher, his little vendetta against Eddie Hearn. You look what's happened.
Joe. Come on, the guy sticks up for his fighters.
He's right. It's definitely, and he's right. But there seems to be a compromise. And I think Fury's, the Smith brothers seem to have deserted him.
I don't think that's related to. I don't think it's related.
I don't think it's related, but I think in terms of like his comments about Chassis Jones not getting enough chance in that roster, it's no coincidence she's now with Boxer.
And it probably benefit her. I'm sorry, Rob.
No, I mean, it's like Neil Marsh said when he was talking about Avanesian. He said he didn't trust Matchroom anymore, that they just wanted to use his fighter to build up their other welterweights. And when they didn't play along with the script, they were just sort of left by the wayside. Promoters do that, let's be real. I mean, I'll tell the fighters I know, look, don't ever forget, promoters aren't your friends. It don't matter how charming Eddie Hearn seems to be. I mean, I know you guys were talking about it earlier. He's still a businessman. He isn't taking fighters on out of charity, out of some personal love for them. He takes them on because he thinks they might make him money. And if another fighter comes along who can make him more money, you'll find this sort of compromise happens. I mean, it's natural. Promoters will have their favourites, but in that sense, I think Frank Warren dealt with it better when he sort of admitted, well, look, Daniel Tabar, I've had him since he was a kid. He was my favourite, but Joe beat him, so we'll push him on. It is what it is. Promoters have got their favourite fighters, but it's not because they're friends. It's because
money.
Certain fighters will make them more money than others. They're not running a charity, 100%. They're running a business. So.
Well, you see,
it's what it is.
any claims to transcend that. And he says, I'm really good friends with Anthony Joshua, I'm really good friends with Tony Bellew, and I'm really good friends with Carl Froch. Common denominator made you a lot of money in pay-per-view fights.
But
I'm sure
not,
every
but,
promoter in history has said that when they've signed a fighter up, they put their arm around them and say, "Oh, I'm a father figure to you." I don't think it's anything new either.
And also as well, when you're like Tony Bellew and these other fighters, when someone like Eddie Hearn's changed your life with the amount of money that he's obviously helped them make, they're always going to speak highly of him, and so they should, because to them, obviously this guy's changed their life. But there's obviously other fighters that are going to have issues with him that are lower down.
Mind you, Jay.
Second order.
Mind you, Jay. Tony Bellew and David A seem to be very, very close. Just as close, because Tony Bellew, after the fight, I don't know if he was emotional or not, but he was saying this. He seems to credit David A more than Eddie for doing it, because of the fact that David A chose him to fight.
That's right. And Tony comes from a background where he's a proud man, and he knows that the other guy helped him achieve what he's achieved. So it takes two to dance. And obviously, David A helped him change his life, so he's going to give him a lot of respect. And remember, Tony obviously knows David from back in the day when they're amateurs and that scene and that. He knows how good David Hay was, so let's be not. He wasn't going to disrespect him. He knew he fought a really good fighter. So, props to both guys. And look, I'm looking forward to that show December 18th. I think the fight only goes differently between Chisora and Parker. If Parker's made improvements this stage in Del Boy's career, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a come-forward fighter, give it all he's got, give it 110%, and I love that about Del Boy. But the only way the fight changes for me is if Joseph improves, like you both said, work with Andy Lee a little bit longer. Ra says maybe a finish. That's a big statement. I think that will be a great result for Joseph Parker if he can stop Del Boy. That would be good. Obviously, we've seen him stopped by Dillian White before, and that, but that would be a good result. Parker, for me, I felt like he lacked a bit of confidence with when he beat Andy Ruiz and then he lost to AJ. I felt he lost a little bit of confidence, which you would do when you get your first defeat. I felt when the Dillian White fight, you saw that he took that fight on a quick turnaround. If you remember, that was a really quick turnaround, like about 8 weeks, was it, or 6 weeks or something? Really quick for a high level fight, and I thought that showed for the majority of the fight, but you saw the dog in him. He nearly took Dillian White out. Another 30 seconds of that fight, Dillian White was out. He would have been knocked down cold. So Joseph Parker showed great mettle there. I thought the Junior Farr fight, I thought obviously that was meant to be like a battle of the New Zealanders. Not really a great performance. And then I thought that Derek Chisora wasn't a great performance either. I know both of you said that you thought that he won that fight. I agree with you. I thought he won it by 1 or 2 rounds, maybe, if that. But if Del Boy says he won, I'm not going to argue. Like Ra said, it was a close fight. So either way, you can't call it a robbery if it went either way. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight. But Watsy, though, I agree with both of you. If he wins that fight, world titles, he's got to be fighting Bivol or someone like Joe Smith Jr. or someone like that. He's got to fight for a world title after that. And then Lerone Richards, if I'm correct, that's for the IBO world title. I know we said it ain't really a world title, or I said that, but it's the next level. As you say, he's waiting for that Canelo to vacate the titles and see where that goes. It'd be a good fight to see if he fights Zach Parker. I think that'd be a great fight for domestic level. I know Zach Parker's just beat Marcus Morrison, but I think that'd be a good fight. Lerone Richards versus Zach Parker, the skillful fighter versus the power puncher. It's an intriguing bill. I'm excited for that. It's definitely a Christmas cracker. So, look, we've got a few weeks of some good fights going on. There's fights next year that I'm looking forward to. Mick Conlan versus Lee Wood. That's a fight that I'm looking forward to. I really like Mick Conlan. I think he's a great fighter. Lee Wood's obviously WBA regular champion. So there's loads of big fights going into next year. Tonight, we're going to call that a night. It's been absolutely fantastic. You've been with the Pep Talk boys, going over last night's fights. The fight's coming up in the future. We'll have another show during the week. We'll get both guys on the show. Obviously, I haven't been on since last week about Canelo. So, Ra, I know you wanted Plant to win. I thought Plant done really well. I thought Plant performed amazingly. At the time, I said to Joe, mate, I'm not happy with Canelo's performance. I'm a big Canelo fan, and I just thought it was a below performance, but he got the stoppage, he got the win. But I thought Plant, you were correct. He performed very well for 10 to 11 rounds. He performed well, but he just didn't have the power to dent Canelo. That was his issue. But a good effort. His stock went up, in my opinion. So Caleb Plant will come back when them titles get vacated. I'm sure he'll be fighting for another one of them titles in the next year or two. So I just wanted to say, obviously, I enjoyed the fight, and I just wanted to say, I thought Caleb Plant done well, Ra, because I know that you were one of the only few people that said that, and I respected you saying that. You openly said you want Plant to win, but you probably know Canelo will win. Just before we go, what was your thoughts on the fight, and at the end of that, and also Ken, I want to get your thoughts as well, because obviously I haven't spoke to you since then. So we'll go with Ken, and then we'll end it with Ra, because Ra was the Plant man. Ken, quickly.
It's just what I thought. Plant started off well. Like I said, use his hand speed, use his foot speed. But I just felt that Canelo worked him out, and then once Canelo started to work him out, he gave him less leverage for his punches. And then in the championship rounds with your tie, that's when Canelo got one punch off, and that was it. It was game over. But Canelo does that to you. You could put your best performance ever, but you're going to have to engage with Canelo. And as you said before, you're going to have to hit him pretty hard and concussively to discourage him from coming forward. And, for all of Caleb Plant's good attributes, he just wasn't able to discourage Canelo from trying to cut the ring off. And that's how you beat Canelo. You have to engage and cut off him getting you near the ropes all the time, because that's where he wins his fights. Is where he has you in that kind of in footballing terms, the attacking last third. Where in boxing, it's in that area where you don't have leverage for your punches, and you have to fight on the back foot. He's probably one of the best fighters I've seen who gets you on the back foot pretty quickly. During fights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ra, your opinion?
Me personally, I thought Canelo was actually fairly comfortable. After 10 rounds, if they were both two unknown fighters, if you were to have said it's fairly close, I would have thought that's reasonable. But that's not enough to get anywhere near, Canelo on the scorecards. The rounds that Plant was winning or had success in, it was more because Canelo was taking his foot off the gas, as he does sometimes, just to sort of have a look to see what you're doing. To me, I always got that impression when he wants to turn it up, he will. And Plant exerted a lot more effort to get the success he got than Canelo had to. And that's where it told in the latter part of the fight. I still refuse to give Canelo the credit that you guys do for the reasons I've already stated, and I'm still going to keep picking against him if he goes up against Benavidez or Charlo. I'm going to pick against him. If he fights Andrade, I'm going to pick against him. And there's a couple of guys at light heavyweight that I'll pick against him. But we'll leave that for another discussion as to why I think some of these other guys
what?
could beat him.
Right, you've got a point. Yeah, Dave. Until fighters know what they've got to do. But I suppose it's a lot difficult than it looks from where we're sitting. Don't let him get that. Don't let him get that central ring, and don't let him get you in those areas where you can't let your hands go.
Easier said than done, though, Ken.
That's it. Yeah.
These fighters
Exactly.
he's beating. Well, I know Ra says that he wants everyone that he fights, that he's going to go against Canelo, but just for what he's done in the last year, to fight them many fights at that level, when these fighters are fighting once a year, other world champions are fighting once a year, once every couple of years. He's fought since, it's not even been a whole year, since last December, if I'm correct. He's fought and won all 4 titles in one calendar, 1 year. That's unbelievable. And also throwing a mandatory.
It is.
And I know Yildirim was a poor opponent, but he still had to have a training camp, have all the press around it, slip him in the middle. He's won all 4 titles and slipped the mandatory in there. The guy's unbelievable. And I know that obviously we give him a lot of props, but going to the fight on fight night, going into round 11, I thought Canelo had to stop him. I don't know if I was seeing something completely different on the watch along. The way I was just scoring it, for me, boxing's about hitting and not being hit, and I just kept seeing Plant peppering him with a jab and peppering him with shots. I know they had no power on him. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't hurting Canelo, but there was loads of rounds where I felt Canelo wasn't really landing, and then I was looking in the corner and it said like percentages landed. I know Plant was throwing a lot more, but it was like saying Canelo had more accuracy in that, and I was like, maybe because he's throwing 1 or 2 shots and landing. But when I rewatched it, I did have Canelo up by a couple of rounds, and I don't know whether it's just like I said, I didn't think Canelo performed to the best of his abilities. He wasn't using the jab, he wasn't setting anything up. He was just literally going for power shots all the way through. It wasn't until round 10 and 11 he started working the jab a little bit more. But Caleb Plant will come again. I saw his story. He's been through a lot, and as a man, I congratulate him for getting to that stage in his career and going 21-0 and fighting Canelo, and hopefully become a world champion again. Canelo, vacate them titles, baby. Go up to light heavyweight and start taking them guys out, because he done what he needed to achieve. He needs a new goal. I think he will become undisputed at light heavyweight. For me, if I was Canelo, I would go and fight Makubu at cruiserweight, because I think Makubu, we could beat him at cruiserweight, because cruiserweight there's a lot of big dudes, and I'm just saying, I know he's got power. He's a southpaw. I know he dropped Tony Bellew, but Tony Bellew beat him. I would say try and create greatness and get that cruiserweight world title so you can be a 6-weight world champion, and then go back down, do a Roy Jones, just stay there for one fight, go back down, and then try and undispute the thing. But I hear the Triple G fight's been, I don't want to see Triple G. I've seen it twice. Triple G's a year and a half older. I think Canelo probably stop him in that fight, and it won't look good for Triple G. Just leave it as it was. And for me, I'd leave that. Yeah. But look, there's some big fights next year. We've got some big fights coming up. We'll do a live show during the week. If you want to let people know your socials, you don't have to. But if you want to, here's your opportunity. Do you want to let people know where they can find you on Instagram?
Yeah, if you want, it's raw_Hokum on Instagram. I might be doing some media work myself soon, joining you guys, following in your footsteps. So keep an eye on that if you want.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
But yeah, I'll keep you guys posted.
100%. And Kenny, get your socials out there, because I know you've got a few.
I already just got a couple. At Kenny Ken 1972 on Twitter and Instagram. Mostly about Arsenal mostly anyway.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
and look,
there'll be no one interested in that.
Look, I ain't getting involved. Man United are doing shocking at the moment, so I ain't getting involved in no football conversation, especially in international break. Yeah, no, I didn't even watch England the other night. I'll have no issue with not watching the qualifiers. It's always England winning. They only show up for the first half. Second half's always boring. As it happened again the other day, they went 5-0 up at half time. You think, here we go, double figures. Nah, 0-0 second half. So poor for England. But no, look, it's been a pleasure tonight. Always great to speak to you, to both of you guys. Great chat, great opinions. We've been the Pep Talk Boys. I'm Jay Albee. You can see my social at the bottom. You want to get involved in any lads, check out all of Joe's interviews. He's been doing some great stuff. Like I said, 150,000 views on one of the videos. So for us as a new channel, that was absolutely fantastic. So thank you again. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and look out for what's coming soon. But cheers again, guys. It's been great speaking to you, and we'll get you back on soon. Cheers. Have a great week.
See you, right. Speak soon, mate.
Nice one. See you, boys.
Nice one, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.